How's everything with you anyway, mate? I bet it's a bit of a weird time being on lockdown, isn't it?
It's strange. We always feel, and that meant because I was working, and that meant my job was stop. Now the only thing is they have like a social welfare payment,
Right.
get an enhanced one, but I don't even have to go for that because my boss signed up to this scheme where you keep all your employees on and you pay them and you get subsidized back. So it's sweet.
Okay.
I would just not have to.
Yeah, I think we've got something similar here. Like my girlfriend's dad said he's been like temporarily laid off in order to receive 80% of his salary from the government or something like that.
It's so
So
much
it's
like, look,
say again.
we're gonna get paid taxes and I'm sure there'll be an emergency budget for that, like to make up all the funds that have been lost. Well, okay, I might as well enjoy it while it's happening.
Yeah, 100%. I don't
Because
know. It's going to have a massive knockback effect on everywhere, isn't it? But
yeah, I've
yeah,
been fans of it. I don't know if you've seen the battle tournament.
yeah. I saw well, I've seen all of the ones you've done so far, but the I watched the CJA battle yesterday, and fucking hell, man! Like both of you were crazy.
Yeah, proper sick. Like he had some points. That's fucking bringing out the goal punch. I like the foggy Jim. That was sick. Like that's Connor's team like his ring entrance and the foggy Jill, like it's like a traditional Irish song. So for him to have known that and him to have fight it back in like that, and it was really good. It was clear. I was surprised because did you see the judging is up?
Yeah. It was close. Well, last time I checked, anyway.
Yeah. So like the way they did it this time, there's a public vote which decided the first two rounds, but now the public vote only counts as one on a kind of a 5 point judging system. So you get the 1 point for the public, and then there's four judges. So
Right.
organic, three other dudes judged their one. And I got the public vote and I got the four judges' votes. Which I was kind of surprised because I thought the battle was close enough. But look, I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah, 5-0 there, you know.
No, fucking too right, man. And like, it's the best thing I think about this tournament that they've put on is most of the matchups have been matchups that you never see like in an actual battle event. Do you know what I mean? Like, when would you get the opportunity to battle CJA? Do you know what I mean? But it worked really well, and it's
Yeah,
hopefully, I'd love to see you get a booking on iBattle off the back of it as well. That'd be fucking amazing.
that would be really cool. That's kind of been goals this year. And
Yeah.
with a few of us on Rappers Full, that's like a kind of a one of the places that we'd like to get to go. So Visual, who went out in the second round of the tournament, he was supposed to go to Ireland, I think in April, and
Oh
obviously
shit.
that's because of the Corona thing. But I'd love to get on there at some point as well this year. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, just the events in general, they look like so much fun. Like not many leagues stateside really interest me that much, but iBattle are just killing it lately. I didn't know Viz was going out there though. That'd be fucking really good to see. Like Viz is one of the fastest to climb the ranks in a very long time, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah.
His performance against Carney was pretty unbelievable. To be fair, for what his fourth battle, I think.
I think it's unbelievable. He, he's so good now, starting out like a year in.
Yeah,
And having had those points, think how good he's gonna get. Like that's fucking scary because his performance It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's top draw. But I'm actually getting Viz on the show tomorrow afternoon as well, so I'm looking forward to speaking to him a bit further. But yeah, I knew. Sorry, mate, go on.
Yeah, he's a good lad. And I kind of backed the Vince from the beginning. In that how he kind of came into the fold of the Irish battle team was, I don't know if you're familiar with Scomo. Scomo is like a battler from the north of Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
and
he's
had a
very into his politics. Is that the guy?
That's the very guy.
Yeah.
Really nice fella. But Visual put up a video in the Irish Battle forum about a year and a half ago. And he said, look, I don't want this guy to be the representative of where I'm from in terms of rap battling. And he did a send for him. And it was really good. And I was like, you know what? Normally, if someone did this, like, on a forum, I'd be like, it's a bit cheeseball. But I watched that and I was like, you know what? This deal was actually good. So I'll rate this. I'm gonna back this fella. And after that, a lot of people were saying, were kind of like, yeah, no, this fella seems like he's good. And obviously he went his own route about it. He went over and did academy first. And I'm well impressed by that as well. You know, going outside of his country, going over battling internationally before he's ever had a clash here to kind of dip his toe in the water. You know, he just jumped straight in. Major respect. He's doing great things.
Absolutely, yeah. I got to see the academy final. I went to the All-Star event in London in December.
Yeah.
And I was going into the battle, like, I think Milky's very good as well, but I expected Viz to win, but it was, I think, going from the kind of regular academy events, which are, generally small room events in a sense, and then going straight into the steel yard with, a good few hundred people in the building. I think it might have daunted him a bit, but then all it did was make him come back stronger for the Carney battle. He absolutely smashed it. It was really good to see.
He was unbelievable. But Carney is probably the best I've seen him. But,
Carney was good as well. Like it's, I think like you've got to give it. If you're judging it, you'd have to say it's 3-0 to Visual, but Carney was flawless as well, pretty much. So it was.
He was. I think Visual just. It was one of those things. Probably there probably wouldn't be anybody that could have beaten him that night. You know, it was the performance of a lifetime type shit. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is scary because if he's not yet at his top level and he's getting better, that's frightening. It really is.
100%. Yeah, he's got a huge ceiling ahead of him, and I just hope, I hope there's a platform, especially over here in the UK. I'd like to see him over here still as often as possible. I hope that there's a platform, that are willing to put him on. I don't really know what's going on with Premier Battles at the moment, but hopefully they get him on some more cards and keep booking him.
I think a lot where it's going, my friend, and it's unfortunate if they did kind of stop putting on events, or if that dies down a bit now. It's unfortunate that that's the league he's built the relationship with, so it'd be good to see them keep going for other reasons as well, but from my perspective, to see him get over there more and do more battles over there, because I definitely think they'd have him back. They were impressed enough with him, and I'm sure they've seen him party as well.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. But yeah, man, I mean, with what I'm basically doing with this podcast, like it's really nothing formal. Like I just saw an opportunity while everyone's in lockdown to to kind of have just a bit of a chat with people really and get people talking about battle rap a bit more, hopefully. But
That's it, man. It's a great idea. It's good to take advantage of the situation at hand as well, you know?
yeah, exactly. And like, I've reached out to a couple of people over the last few weeks, and yesterday I had, I think, 3 or 4 people, yourself included, that were eager to come on, and all of a sudden I've got 45 people booked in within the next 10 days. So I'm going to be pretty busy, which is good, keeping myself busy in these weird times. But yeah, for yourself though, obviously you've been around in the battle rap scene for a long time now.
Yeah.
How did you get into battle rap? Like, what was it that was there, like a battle that you initially saw, or did you just end up at an event, or was it before the days that battle rap was being filmed? Like, how was it that you got into it?
Like, obviously, I always kind of was excited for battling as an art form. And I remember like kind of seeing old freestyle battles and stuff like that. I used to like track down like Scribble Jam videos and stuff before I really had really good internet in my house that I could watch stuff on, you know.
Yeah,
So I used to get shit like that and watch them like, and I started kind of going to a few battles that were here. There was kind of a freestyle scene here about 15, 16 years ago. So me and my mates kind of used to go along, and it was me and 2 of the lads that used to rap together. And one of them was actually the first one of us to battle. He jumped up and he battled at an event here. Um, and the other 2 lads kind of eventually gave up on the rapping thing. But I got into like making and recording music and shit like that. And one of the guys that I initially kind of worked with, me and him kind of had a personal kind of falling out, and he put a track up. So he would have been kind of more well known in the kind of Irish rap scene at the time than I was. I'd only put out a couple of songs. So I responded back, and he was responded back. And it went on like for a few days, and a lot of people got to know my music because of that at the time. And people kind of knew I had punchlines and I had kind of a battley kind of style. But I never really entered any of the freestyle battles back then. And what used to happen a lot as well was there used to be like online kind of battle audio tournaments, like the one that Premier did recently, but just audio. And I entered one of them that was organised between different Irish battlers, and I won it. So I kind of just had a bit of a reputation as someone who could do that, who could do the whole kind of punchline battle kind of style. And or before there was ever a Don't Flop Ireland, or actually tried to organise an event here, and it would have been early enough in Don't Flop's kind of tenure. And I remember he was saying like if we could find like maybe even just a public space or something, and we put on the 3 battles, we'll travel over and we'll film it and go up on the channel. And he hit me up at the time and he said, look, I've asked a few people and people seem to think you'd be one of the Irish dudes who would be good at this whole kind of battle rap thing. So I was like, well, I don't really do like freestyle battles or anything like that. And he was saying kind of that they were going more towards written battles now, and you know, you can prepare who your opponent is. So it was actually me and Wayne were going to battle at the first one. And that kind of never really came to fruition. And Redzone was big into battles, and I kind of started watching a lot of them when Don't Flop really got off the ground. I'd been watching like Jump Off and stuff like that before, and I'd seen some smack battles as well. Like, so I did. I followed some people. I knew like Oren Solomon and Matt and people like that, and I knew about Soros and Ilmac. And I'd seen like Orr and Ark, and I'd seen Zest and Rain as well, the Jump Off. So I knew there was kind of a bit of a scene there, but when I started watching the Don't Flop battles when they were like maybe a year into Don't Flop, I'd seen a couple of them, but I really got into it about a year in. And at the same time, I was watching a lot of grind time battles, and I started watching some King of the Dot. And I really was enjoying the battle. And it was kind of like taking a bit of a shame. the event that was meant to happen here, the Don't Stop, hadn't. And to set up a league, and he just asked a bunch of us, would we take part, give us a date, it was going to happen. Whoever said yeah, they just made the matchups, and all kind of came along later and offered to let, Red use the Don't Flop name. So that would have been like the first proper battle I've done. Like I've done the audio and stuff like that, and I'd freestyle battle with people jokingly, not on stage, but just shit like that. I had very little experience before Red. So like my first Don't Flop battle was like my first proper battle. And I kind of really, I didn't know what to expect from it. And as soon as it happened, immediately afterwards, I kind of had a feeling this is going to be something like off, because it's very addictive.
Sure, and it's like the scene in Ireland, to me, like, to be honest, I didn't get into battle rap until probably about into like a year into Don't Flop either. I think the first battle that I ever saw was like O'Shea versus Lego.
Yeah.
I've got more and more into it from there, really. So like I didn't start following the Irish scene as such until a few years after that point. But like since I've been watching it, you've been at the forefront of it. It's been like yourself and Sayo and Guame and things like that. But to see how it's progressed all the way up to like Rap is Full have been, probably the most consistent league that I've seen come out of Ireland. I know that there was a league called like the Fighting Irish beforehand and things like that, wasn't there, which I never really followed too in depth. But like, do you think there's anything missing from the Irish scene at the moment? Like from what I can tell, the Broken Resolutions event is, well, to my knowledge, the biggest like event that Ireland's ever had, really. Would you agree with that?
In terms of the card, yeah, definitely. The biggest battles. I don't know in terms of attendance. Maybe over the course of the weekend, definitely. But
Okay.
I was like, back in when Don't Flop Ireland was going, like the Fighting Irish was kind of what came from Don't Flop Ireland. So Don't Flop Ireland had like 3 events and then broke away. And there was still a relationship with Don't Flop. Like me and Reds are still went over a battle over there. Other people did too. But Red just kind of wanted to control every kind of, to have the footage to edit themselves and to upload them, the way they wanted to and everything like that. So he just kind of wanted that, And they used to get very big crowds. And they used to get decent views as well. But like battle rap in the UK as well would have been getting good views at that point. So it was on the rise. I think in terms of now, Rap is Full is kind of, it's done very well to be able to keep going. Like you said, they've been consistent. They've consistently had events at least every few months for like about nearly 3 years, I think, at this point. So yeah, they've really done well to keep that going. In terms of attendance, I think the biggest event, like attendance wise, was probably DFI 7. I think it was 7. It was in Dublin, and I battled a cartoon.
Okay.
Sorry?
Did you say you battled a cartoon?
Yeah, I battled a cartoon. Basically, there was a cartoon at the time called Dotsy, and it was an online cartoon that a guy started, an animator, a really talented guy.
Oh yeah, do you know what? I remember seeing this now. It's like just a big white circle with a face drawn on it and like its hands out, isn't it?
Yeah, he's kind of caricature looking thing. But yeah, they edited him into, like, I battled. They played his bars over the sound system, and I battled as if he was there. They had an object just placed where he would be standing, and then they
Right.
edited it afterwards so that it looks like we're in the room together, you know. It was cool. Like, he had his own segment on, like, probably one of the most popular television shows here at the time. Um, on national TV here, it was madness. Like, but yeah, I battled him at that, and Ross all battled Jambo, and that was kind of seen as one of the big clashes, like, of the kind of back then in terms of names here. But I think something like close to maybe like 400 people paid into that event, which for here is huge. I think Broken Resolutions would have beaten that attendance over the course of the weekend, but I don't think on an individual day. And I think that's just down to the fact that the battle rap thing and the Irish hip hop thing at the time was just really gathering steam, and it had a lot of fans then, you know. Um, so I think, yeah, in terms of card and everything like that, I think Broken Resolutions is the biggest, and for overall attendance is the biggest as well. Like, there's never been that many big names on a card in Ireland. I don't think there will be again. I think we all knew that was kind of a battle event that you could only ever pull off once. And I know Matt's still going to do some big events, but he's not doing another 2 or 3 day event, you know?
No. It's I can't imagine the amount of work that he had to put into it as well. It would have been, insane to organise. But from what I've seen, like, I'm really gutted. I was meant to actually come over for the event, and I've never been to Ireland before either. So I was really looking forward to it, and then I ended up getting a new job kind of midway through January, and I had to start training for the new job on the Monday that I was meant to be flying back. And I'm based in Cardiff, and the training was up in Manchester, so I just couldn't get out of it at all. It was really bad timing. I ended up having to sell my flight to somebody who came over for the rugby and missed the event, which I was gutted about. But I got the pay-per-view and things like that, so I've seen all the battles, and the whole event just looked fantastic. Like, there's not really a bad performance on there either, it just looked
Yeah,
like it.
it was just
You can't really say that about events nowadays. Like, the only was Quill the only no show on the card as well.
I think, yeah, I think the only real no show, like the Tony D and Terminal battle had to be cancelled. And that
Yeah,
happened. Yeah, I
that
don't
was cancelled quite far in advance, though, wasn't it? The Tony Terminal battle.
yeah, people had advance notice of it. And I think Carl French was originally meant to battle LSD, and he had to cancel. So, and that was done a few weeks beforehand as well. So Carl battled Lazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the whole event, like, I mean, I don't know if you've seen Shapey and Crumpet went up earlier.
Okay. No, I've not actually checked YouTube today, so I'll make
Yeah,
sure I watch that in a bit. But
it's up there now. I'm sure you'd have seen it because of the pay-per-view. But yeah, that Friday night was like an invite only kind of event, you know. And it was because it was in a quite small venue. And it was for Rory's birthday. But even that was so enjoyable, just the whole weekend. Now, by the end of the Sunday, I pretty much just wanted to go home and go to bed because it was tiring.
I can imagine.
And on the Saturday, like, me and Saurus was on second last. So immediately after that was over, like, I didn't have a drink before the battle, so I started drinking afterwards. I never do. I never drink beforehand. And I ended up kind of upstairs. We were getting kicked out of the venue. Well, we were getting moved out of the green room afterwards, but they basically just the lads that they were pushing out of green room, like, you can just stick around, because we thought like we'd have never all been let stay in the venue. But we ended up staying there, and I had a bunch of friends with me, and my girlfriend had a bunch of friends, so we ended up out pretty late. And then having to go up the next morning and go back in. I did the sound check for the on-beat box. I had told Matt I would do that, so I had to get in there like an hour early, and do that, and it was pretty. And the same, I also asked, could I do the sound check for the Saturday, so I was in there an hour early as well, you know. So it was just
Right.
by the end of the Sunday, I just wanted to go home and get into bed and not speak to anyone again for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like it's crazy how much just standing around watching battles takes it out of you, isn't it? Like even just at one day events, it can be enough. But I can't imagine like having to do all that as well.
I love to watch battles. One of the only things that kind of gets to me sometimes with battle events is that generally I tend to be fairly high up on the card here, if not top of the card. So I'll always be like last or second last. So when I'm watching all the other battles, although I'm enjoying them as much as I can, I kind of have my mind on the battle,
Yeah,
which
sure.
can be a bit of a pain. So having an entire day of battles the day after me and Saurus was great. I did. I really enjoyed myself. But yeah, I had to go to work on the Monday then, and I pretty much nearly lost my job on the Monday. I went in, and I had this the whole weekend had gone so well. Got to work on the Monday, and it was like, yeah, I don't think I'm working. Now it turned out all right in the end. Oh yeah, I basically thought like I was fucked. So look, that's just the most fair I am now getting paid for nothing. Um,
You've cut out on your end, man. I heard as far as you nearly lost your job on the Monday.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. There we go.
But yeah,
Yeah, what happened on the Monday then?
really nothing happened. It was just I worked in construction, and I just probably gonna make moves now. I was one of the last in, so I knew I was gonna be one of the first out the door as well, and now I need to keep telling you. But actually, and we got away with it. So that was actually funny. But I just remember when you said I knew I did take that on and stuff because it was like I just had one of the best weekends of my life. Would something please come along and keep me in the teeth right now because I know it's happening. And next thing he arrives, and it's just like, oh, there it is. But no, it worked out all right in the end.
That's all right then. But yeah, I mean, like when you were asked to be on the card originally, like, did you get to choose your opponent, or was it always going to be Thesaurus? Because like that is like bucket list shit to battle Thesaurus in front of your hometown crowd, really, isn't it?
Well, give me 3 or 5 names of who I'd want to battle, and that, like, if it was anyone, he would be on there, you know, because I've watched him for years. I've been a fan. He's one of the forefathers of this. He's one of the greatest ever. So yeah, it was ultimately. I've gone to about 2 years ago when he battled O'Shea here, and
Yeah, yeah, okay.
oh, that's bucket list shit right there, like battling Thesaurus, you know. And he was saying to me at the time, you know, you have to come back and battle, like, you know, you need to come back and battle. And like 2 years later, I got to battle Source myself. And no, it wasn't like um I got the chills. And then basically, Matt approached me at Broken Resolutions 1 and basically just came up and told me, look, I know I didn't book you at the battle at this, but I actually have bigger things in mind for you. And there's some big names like that I'd be interested in trying to book it against. And I was like, yeah, cool, I'd be up for that. So he kind of looked at some opponents over the course of like the year in between. One of the names that he threw out at one point, and he won't mind me saying this because he put it up on the Irish battle rap forum to see what people's opinions were, was Matt Hoffman. And
Oh, okay.
the day that he asked me if I battle Matt, I was actually in Scotland at the time on a trip away, and it was literally the weekend before he had beat Hollow. And everyone was kind of, hyped about Matt again, like he just beat Hollow, And
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, shit, this is huge. Like, if I could battle him, and Matt spoke to him and everything, there was a possibility of it happening, but just didn't happen in the end. And he got on to me maybe like September last year, and the Saurus was just a name he came to me with straight away. And he texted me, and I think I gave him the same answer that I gave him when he texted me to say, do you want to battle Matt Hoffman? Same thing, do you want to battle Thesaurus? And I just texted him back and said, do you think I'm stupid? What kind of question is that? Of course I want to fucking battle Thesaurus. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if other people kind of got asked for the particular opponents they got, but that was who Matt had in mind for me. And like for me, that was there's not many other options that I'd have trouble picking Thesaurus over, or wouldn't have trouble picking Thesaurus over, because he's possibly the GOAT of this.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you versus Math would be a good battle. Don't get me wrong, but I think you versus Saurus just as a main event in Dublin just made so much sense as well. It was the perfect battle for that weekend.
100%, definitely. I think as well, like the the whole kind of, not that it set a narrative when I came back, but when I came back to battle rap, it was like I know a lot of people kind of here were looking at me thinking Nugget's probably not going to be what he was then. This isn't DFI. This isn't then. And I came out straight out the gate, like, I showed people, like, look, I can, this is what I do. Like, it doesn't matter when it is, I'm still me. And we're in like a battle or two. Kind of the thing people kept referring to me as then was, well, Nugget's the GOAT. Do you know what I mean? He's come back. He's in this era. He's battling the top people. He's still that good. So he's the GOAT. Like, he's been here from the start. So to get to battle someone on that level, I think it really set up the battle well for him, because people know everything's done, everything's accomplished, how long he's been around. And in terms of Irish battle rap, I kind of, I'm not on the same level as what he's done, but in terms of Irish battle rap, I've accomplished the most. So it made sense. And I knew as well that it'd be a good matchup, because Soros always respects the leagues that he gets booked on, the fans, the culture, and himself enough to always bring a great performance. And always, he doesn't always win. So I knew he was going to be good, and I kind of figured like our styles would work well against each other. And yeah, I'm so happy with the battle, like the way it came out. There's a few little bits in it where I felt I could have delivered things better, but overall, like, it went how I wanted it to go. It really did.
Yeah, I can imagine. And like, I've watched the battle, I think maybe 4 or 5 times now, and like I can't pick like I wouldn't be able to judge it. We'll put it that way. Like I can't pick a winner personally. Like it's just there's so much replay value on the battle, and it's for me personally. I think it's like probably my overall favourite battle to have happened in Ireland from what I've seen.
Thank
But
you.
for yourself, like, what would you say is like your favourite battle that you've personally been involved in? Would it be the Saurus battle or?
Um, yeah, but I think so. I was like, I know there's battles that have big views and like there's been big like punchlines and bars and shit that I've had that people have remembered. But getting the Battle of Taurus was like kind of everything that I've done over the years. The initial run I had at battling and coming back and doing it again. Everything that I put into it was like, right, this is why I do this. So that I come back to something that good, worldwide, and show that I can be up there, that I can hang with it. So yeah, getting to battle him was amazing. There is other kind of really great standout moments for me as well in other things that getting to battle O'Shea was like a goal of mine. And when I started battle rapping, he was the name. I remember me and Lucy sitting upstairs in a pub after me and Reds were battle and saying who we'd want to battle. And I said O'Shea. I said, that's my goal. If I can get to battle him. And it was fucked up because the next battle event I was at was when Reds went to England to battle Santa. Um, and O'Shea was there. He was deaf on the day. And he came up to me and he was like, "Music, man, how's it going? Really, like, I love your battle." Like, and I was like, "Oh, thanks, Simon." Didn't even know you delighted to see it, you know? And he was like, "Oh, yeah, my brother was watching it in the house and he was laughing away." I came in and I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, these Irish boys." I was like, "Kill." And he was like, "Yeah, no, look, I'm a fan. Me and you can battle." And I was like, "Definitely." And it was like 2 years down the line before we actually did battle. But that was kind of like an achievement for me because that was the person who set out wanting to battle at the start. Thesaurus would have been just an unlikely dream for in terms of a goal that I could have had when I started, you know.
Yeah.
Um, the Nate battle as well, like that, I thought that was a big moment for me because it was my first time battling in the UK. It was, I think, my third battle, and I had that, and everyone else close to me. And yeah, those would probably be the three biggest moments for me in that one.
Yeah, man. There has been some, some crazy moments along the way. Like even like since because you took what about 5 years or so out? Is that right?
Yeah, I think like 4 or 6 years, somewhere in around that. I did battle in that time. I did one 2-on-2 freestyle battle at an event that I was hosting, and someone had dropped out of, and we were showing the battle, so I just jumped in. And I also did a random one as well, after a gig one night, that we had planned to actually put on as a gig, but didn't end up doing. And we did it after the gig to about 20 people. And we recorded it. It was a 2-on-2 again. It was quite good. But neither of those came out. But other than that, I didn't do a battle that I actually wrote for properly in, yeah, like 5, 6 years.
Yeah. Okay. And like, so what would you say is like your least favorite battle that you've been involved in? Is there any battles that you've done that haven't like lived up to expectations or anything?
Definitely. I would say me versus Star Almighty. Don't know if you've ever seen it. It was Don't Flop. It was, I think, the third Blood in the Water or the fourth. But I was terrible. And it was kind of, what had happened was, it was a year nearly exactly after I started battling that battle happened. And I'd been in my first year after I first from the time I battled Reds, or I did like 12 battles in a year, because I just wanted to throw myself into it. But I was constantly preparing for stuff, and like, you know, had it been one battle a month, like every 4 weeks, it probably would have been easier. But there was times where like I'd have a battle here one week and a battle in the UK the next week, and I'd have to prepare for them both at the same time. or one of the, I think two of the DFI events, I had two battles on the day. And in one of them, someone had pulled out, so I didn't have to do both, but I still had to write all the bars. And then I did like a 2-on-2 with Redzer and versus Boney and Nash the same day that I battled Collie. And when we did that, I ended up spitting 8 rounds that day.
Fucking hell.
The battle with Collie went to a just a. Hello?
Hi, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, did I drop out there?
Yeah, it only dropped out for a few seconds, though.
All right, cool. I think the broadband just went for a second. Well, yeah, basically, I did 3 rounds for Collie and one, but we split the promo OT. And I had only wrote the OT the night before. I hated the original OT, and I wrote a new one in my head. So I did 4 rounds in that, and then me and Redder had a 2-on-2 against Boney and Nash. But afterwards, the crowd was going fucking mental, and they kept chanting for OT. So we were like, fuck it, we'll give them the OT. We didn't have an OT rope, so I was just throwing out random punchlines we had parked off and thrown in wherever I could think of at the time. So like by the time it kind of got to the full year at the end of that run, it was very tiring. I battled the cartoon at the event the week before I battled Star Almighty, and I choked in the battle with the cartoon. I had to I had to restart one of the rounds, it got the battle in Star Almighty. And the thing was, had I just been battling Star Almighty and not focused on the other one, not to make an excuse, I probably would have been better prepared, but I wasn't fully. Sorry, did I cut out there again?
Yeah, it only cuts for a couple of seconds or so, but hang on, let me just see if it's my end.
I've gone just strictly onto 4G now, so it should work better because my Wi-Fi has been a little bit of a bastard.
No worries. Yeah, I've just switched over to the 5G on our internet as well, so it should work all right from here.
Yeah, definitely. The Star Almighty would have been my least favourite battle I did. And the thing was, I probably had written some of my better bars for it, but I fucked up so much and my performance was shocking. It was a bad day. I walked away feeling totally deflated.
See, I remember seeing the battle. He's the guy he's got like braids, hasn't he? Is that the one?
That's
yeah. I remember the battle, and I don't. You weren't terrible by any means. Like it's definitely not like your best performance, but I think even from that event alone, there's quite a few worse performances than yourself. I don't think it was terrible by any means.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of. I think it's just kind of being your own worst critic as well, because I had seen quite a lot of his battles, and I think that was probably the best we'd ever seen from him. And it was like it was totally unexpected. And he was really on point that day. Whereas I stumbled, I never fully choked. And I remember saying years ago on Twitter, talking about choking. And I said, I always feel like you should have some tackle just in case you choke. Just other bars that you could throw out. And that's why it's good to kind of, when you're prepping, if you take some stuff out, just, if you have it in your back pocket, it's handy,
And I remember saying, like, of all the times I choked, and definition was like, what battle did you choke in? He goes, I don't recall you choking. And I was like, well, this battle and that battle and this battle. And he was like, you may have stumbled. He goes, I don't think you've ever outright choked. So, like, I think that's pretty good after as many as I've done to have not just completely blanked and fucked it all up, you know? I've had loads of battles where I've got a few bars into a verse and not knowing what the next bar was. I just said something else instead.
Yeah. I know, like, with that, I think I think British battle fans at least are getting a bit tired of seeing people just fully choke. Like, I remember from like the All-Star game, for example, in Premier Battles in December, like Villain choked for over the course of 3 rounds, probably about 20 minutes against Oops, and then Sirius Jones did pretty much the same thing against Tony. And like at the end of the day, like it's annoying for fans to have to stand around for like half an hour over the course of an event and just watch battlers choke. Like there really isn't enough battlers around now that can kind of freestyle their way out of a choke, if that makes sense. And it's good that, you know, especially for like when you look at the Irish scene, I think a lot of them are, yourself included, are capable freestylers and are like a proper battle rappers in that sense. But
yeah, definitely. There's a lot of here who can handle themselves well if they do. I mean, one of the things that I've always kind of tried to stay true to, and it was something that I heard in one of the earlier grind time battles, when Diz battled PH rest in peace, he said, rule number one in rap is if you fuck up, you keep going. And I always thought, no matter what happens, I'll always try to live by that in rapping, because that's the thing. Like you have to keep it going. And I remember the amount of shows I played where, especially early days, like if I played a gig now, I know I'd do it flawlessly. But when I was forced rapping and I'd do a gig, there were certain songs where I'd always fuck up the verse and I wouldn't remember the next line. I'd just spit the other verse until the hook came in and I'd piece it together in my head during the hook, and then I'd rap it perfectly, piecing together what I'd lost and what I had left for the next verse. So I carried that over into battling. I wouldn't rate myself mad high on freestyling. I can do it, but I don't do it a lot. But when I battled Soyo, that was like my second battle.
yeah,
I don't have 2 battles that day. It was originally me and New Sense were supposed to battle, and Soyo's opponent pulled out a few weeks before, and I happened to be in Collie's house, who was like one of the lads running the league with Red at the time, recording a verse. And Collie told me, and I said, look, tell him I'll do it. I have enough time that I can prepare for both. So the prep really wasn't that good. And then I only ended up battling Soyo. And like a few bars in, I just completely blanked. So I just started spitting random fucking bars that I'd taken out, started spitting a bit of one of the other verses. And he did the same thing. So we basically got through the 3 rounds by just trying. The verses were just coming out all over the shop, but it worked. And then it went to OT. And I actually had very little left at that stage that I could remember in these other rounds. So I freestyled at the end of it, and I threw some flips in at the start. And I got the win. So I kind of knew then, look, I'll never let it get to the point where I'm just standing there and nothing's happening.
Yeah,
and I share it a lot with the Irish battlers. But look, I've no problem sharing it here as well. I have certain techniques that I use when I prepare, which I found most of the time to be pretty successful. Um, and I used them a lot, kind of, since I came back. I used to use them on some of the battles when I was prepared, but I use it more now because I think it works. So basically what I do is, when I am coming up with the bars and the schemes that I'm going to put down, I might scribble some of them down, but mostly I'll just have them in the head. And I'll do that for like a couple of weeks, about 2 months to 6 weeks before the battle. I'll really start writing, and I'll put all the ideas that I've come up with into verses, and I'll do that. I'll mess around with them for a couple of weeks. Usually, if at least 3-4 weeks out, I want to have the final verses written. And what I do then is, the first time that I wrap them straight through, the first few times I do it, I take note of the weak points. So
Okay.
there'll always be like a point when you're first prepping a verse where you notice this is the potential bit that I can fuck up on. So what I do is then I identify all of them, and then I kind of like signpost them, and I'll say, right, this is the bar before that, and this is the bar that comes next. This is the one I'm fucking up on. And I'll memorize them. Each time I spit that round, I'll say those 2 lines to myself in my head just before I spit the round. And I'll do that, and over time, it helps you with those. Shit can still happen on the head, and shit can still happen that you'll go blank at points. And it's good to be able to. Sometimes, if there's a weak point to be round, I'll pour it to a point where I know I'm going to get a big reaction as well. And I really believe in putting the time into figuring out which bars are right for what round, what they work with. I try and tell a story each round, and even if I completely meander off and I do like punchlines about something else, I'll try and tie them in as much as I possibly can to each other. But like, if I try, for instance, I threw stuff in late for Thesaurus, and I put them in the first round. So I came up with a bar that day that I knew I'd have to use, and I came up with a bar on the day about the Podge and Matt kind of situation that happened in the Dunch battle. And I was like, basically what I did was I picked the bar that I thought in the first round was going to get the biggest reaction. And I said, right, the crowd will be reacting for that, and it'll give me time to think about these because they're the last bars that went in to make sure I do them well. And what actually happened on the day was they when I split the bar before it was the how could you break down our country? We built yours up in the first place. And basically the reaction was huge, but people started shouting, say it again. And I was like, as much as I would love to say it again, I'm concentrating on his next 4 bars. So I'm not
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's lots of things you can do in the prep to help yourself avoid that happening. And obviously just, memorizing your bars to death is great. But it helps if you have some other little backups, and I definitely think that you did that working on those notes has worked for me. It's really simple, like. I'm sure other people have thought of it. I hope so, anyway. But yeah, that's one of the things. I believe in as well when I'm prepping. I'll often kind of pick. I know people like to start strong, in battles, and sometimes I'll kind of identify bars that I've written for a battle and say, I'm not mad on them, and then I'll kind of think, how much is the crowd gonna like it though? And it happened to me with Roby and Raptor. I had kind of lines which I thought weren't as good as the rest of the material, but I thought they were funny. And particularly, like, the Irish audience really reacts well to any kind of comedy. So the chin thing versus Roby, which I thought was kind of one of the weaker parts writing-wise of everything that I put into that battle. But I felt that this is really going to get a reaction off a crowd, so I put it in first because I feel like it gets it out of the way that I have got the crowd reacting to it. So I always try and do something that is going to get a big reaction out of them straight away. And particularly here, I think a lot of the time that needs to be something kind of comedic, because especially now, I kind of try and bar a lot more in my battles, so I get away with it more than some of the Irish battlers do, particularly at the Irish events, because there is always kind of that interest in me battling, so I think they're a bit more tuned in. But I'll always try and throw in something to make them laugh at the start, and get them on my side and get them listening, you know? Sorry, I'm kind of wrecked.
No, no, not at all, man. I'm interested to hear about it anyway. But it's just basic tactics, really, isn't it? And it is something that I enjoy a lot about watching the Irish scene more so because, like, over here, I think we've got so used to seeing people choke at least once an event that, like, it's kind of become accepted. And, like, I was speaking to Raptor or Rapthor, I don't actually know how you say it, but I was speaking to him at the Cardiff event where he battled Canal in the summer, and him and Canal both said after the battle, they both lost track of what they were meant to be spitting at certain points. Like, Canal was going into his second round whilst on his first round and stuff, and they both just pulled it off and made it look professional. And it's like, over here, a lot of the UK battlers, especially the newer battlers, I find just they don't even have the basic ability to kind of freestyle their way out of it. Like, I don't know if the event actually ever got released, like the footage from the event, but there was an event that Rory sent to me last year, a Rap is Full event, where Johnny Darko freestyled against someone. I can't remember who it is for the life of me now.
Intimidation.
Yeah, I think you could be right. It was an event where Scabman the Scaldy battled Stray.
I hosted that event.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and
that was the day that me and Thesaurus was announced. And there's a really cool video that I recorded for kind of the promo, and we never did anything with. I'll probably put it up at some point. But I announced me and Thesaurus' battle from the stage, like, just to kind of get a bit of a reaction. And it was pretty cool. Like, it was a good moment, you know. I gave a little speech. But yeah, the one Johnny Darko freestyle that whole battle.
And I wouldn't say it was anything spectacular, but it was just basic freestyling, and some of it was kind of so bad that it was really funny, if that makes sense. And it's just having the basic skill to be able to do that a lot of battlers here lack, I think. And it's good watching the Irish scene. I think there's so many newer names that are coming through that I'm really excited about. Like, I think Scabman the Scaldy's got a really high ceiling. I really like him at the moment. He's young too, right? He's only like 18, 19. Is that right?
Yeah, he's quite young. Yeah, and around that, probably 18. I did a track with Scabman and Raptor there a couple of weeks ago. They have a mixtape that they're putting together, so quite a bit of it recorded now at this point. But yeah, no, he's sick. There's a lot of guys in the Irish scene now that are really good. Hades as well. Slow Trog.
I've been a big fan of Hades for a while. I saw Hades for the first time at Nil 3 at, like, the Code Red event a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think in the building, I think I was one of the only people that was saying Hades won. Hades beat DMAC clearly. Like, DMAC performed in that battle, but there was absolutely no substance to his material. Whereas Hades, I remember he did like a bar about his his dad showing him how to point at an Englishman or something like that, and it was incredible. Like he was so fucking good, and seeing how he's progressed to like the Yunnan performance, like he's fucking next level.
He really is. He really is. I'm glad, like, 'cause so many people in the UK now are rating Hades, man, and he's incredible. There's a wealth of talent here now, you know. So it'd be interesting to see after this whole fucking pandemic dies down, like some of the matchups that we're gonna get, like internationally, like in terms of people like Visual, Hades. I'd love to see Scabman battle more internationals. Raptor, Row B, Hodge, Terminal. There's a lot. Johnny Darko, man, I think is gonna, if he gets, I'd love to see him go over to I Battle or King of the Top. Because I think his style would really translate well. He was fucking unbelievable against Red Flag.
Yeah, he was
really fucking good. But yeah, now look, it's very promising, like at the moment, the Irish scene, and I think it's cool as well now that I'm kind of getting my name known by the I Battle audience as well. Obviously, Hades get known big in the UK. Visuals made a name for himself over there. Darko's battle over there. Raptor has done quite a few over there now. So yeah, like we're building something big again. Like, you know, it's cool, and Rory and Podge have put in a lot of work to maintaining that and keeping the consistency there, keeping events going all the time. You know.
Definitely, and I think as it stands, the Irish scene in terms of producing new talent, I think it's probably, you know, it's probably faring a much better chance than the UK scene is right now. Like there's so many talented people coming through at the moment, whereas with the UK it's kind of drips and drabs. Once or
I think
twice a year, and it's
maybe part of the reason for that as well is that, like, we've only got one league, and we, you know, we're a smaller scene, so like maybe it's easier for people to kind of get the tryout battle with Rapids Full and kind of climb the ladder, and get themselves known here. So like, yeah, man, I definitely think like the talent that we've had coming through. And hopefully more. I think there's other kind of new people that are coming onto the scene now as well, that hopefully in a year or two are doing what the likes of Darko and Raptor and that are doing now, you know?
definitely. But yeah, like the next question that I had, I'm gonna break it into two questions. But is there anybody left in Ireland that interests you in terms of a battle?
Yeah. I've actually, like, there's a few Irish people that I've spoke to about battling, and we will at some point. But I think, like, you just have to look at who the top guys are here now. Like, you know, like Carl French, Hades, Johnny Darko, Terminal, Visual. I think me and any one of them on an Irish card now would be a big headline battle. So yeah, look, I'm just going to see how things play out. Like, I don't want to say I'm definitely going to battle this particular person, but there's a few there that I will battle. And there's other dudes as well, like Shawnee Mack now is after really making a name for himself over the last year or two. So like, me and him were supposed to battle. I was kind of, there was something I was interested in doing, like as a little side project for that, kind of one-off kind of street battle kind of things, one round kind of unlimited. And then when they won the battle in hometown, so like a bunch of us go to saying, oh, got like 3 4 battles. We had the battles in kind of locations in Cork where they live. I was going to call a hometown advantage. So it's still something that I'd be interested in doing. And I spoke to Shawnee Mack and said, look, maybe we'll do the first one here in Waterford, definitely in Waterford. The next people, I mean, you battle. So I'd still like to do that at some point as well. But yeah, look, I can't go around calling myself the best Irish rap battler if there's dudes that I'm not battling.
Um, there is one big name here that I'm not going to say who it is. One big name here that recently approached me about battling at some point in the summer. So we're going to do that. And my point of answer to him when he asked me was, hey, I can't go around calling myself the fucking goat. And if you're the person that people are saying is the best or one of the best now. So yeah, I definitely will. I'm kind of back on Batman a bit now, you know. And obviously
Nice.
the actual battle, we're in like a week. I was like, I have to get another battle. I have to battle someone. And I was rushing in a bit. And I decided against it, and I was gonna wait because I did have a big one booked for the summer for London. But that's not happening now because of the corona. So potentially another big name in the UK for the summer anyway. So when the iBattle thing comes up, it was like, right, fuck it, I'll throw myself into this fully for the time being because there's nothing else to be doing. So yeah, I've been doing that, and that's kind of keeping the pen sharp as well. But it's also getting some content out there while I'm stuck in the house.
Yeah, of course, and yeah, I mean the iBattle tournament has worked really well for that in that sense, and yeah, I think you versus CJA especially has been fucking incredible. Um, who?
Yeah, I was well happy with that one. Because I'd watched some CJA battles prepping for it, and I was like, right, this dude's really good. And I couldn't find a battle that he actually lost. So I was like, right, this is gonna be a good battle. So I knew I had to have my shit on. I was really fucking happy with that honky tonk man bar. Um,
Yeah,
that was my favorite from it because I only came up with that on the day. What happened was I was clearing some stuff in my room, and I was looking for something, and I found I buy a lot of books. I read a lot, and I go around like old secondhand bookshops and secondhand shops and shit, find good books in them that you can't find anywhere now. Um,
right.
and I was looking at them, and I spotted the Intercontinental title and the big gold belt, like the kids ones. I was like, oh, I have to buy them and stick them up on the wall or something, you know. So I just had them there, and when I was looking for something, I found the Intercontinental title, and I just randomly kind of said, I got that Intercontinental strap. I was like, oh shit, that could work in this battle. And I came up with it. I was like, yes, this is the one. This is because I don't do gun bars like, but if I'm battling someone who does gun bars, I'll kind of take the piss out of it and I'll do some realistic. And yeah, I thought it worked, and I got the win. So yeah, got rebuttal that now next round. So hopefully, well, gonna prepare for him for the next few days and hope for the best. Marv One is in the other semi final, and he's the kind of name that I saw out of everyone that I thought, yeah, I really want to battle Marv out of all these people.
Yeah, Marv is just he. What I love about Marv One is you could literally match him up against everyone because he's just got it all. Like he's funny. He's he's got he comes with a lot of gun bars. Like we've just seen the 2-on-2 drop against like Twerk and Shug, where for me their first and third round is like just criminally slept on in that crowd. You could tell that the crowd were just there for Twerk and Shug kind of thing, but like Marv's got it all. Like there's so many battles in the UK and like Ireland alone that I'd love to see Marv do, just because it doesn't matter who you face him up against, he's gonna entertain kind of thing. But if we,
So,
if you were to get Marv in the final, how would you approach Marv? Would you go funnier, like more on the comedy kind of side of things, you think, or would you lean more towards him down?
I think that I would probably aim for something the same, or I would probably break it down. Like there's so much there. I feel like people like him and like Thesaurus and whoever, they're kind of at a disadvantage because people know so much about them, that they're always going to be able to come up with some material.
The only downfall for the person that's battling them is, has someone said it before, in that way, because they've done so many. But yeah, it has to be a disadvantage that people know so much about them. Like, how much would Marv realistically know about me? Very little, I'd imagine, other than this tournament. So yeah, I think that's important. I think he'd be able to definitely do what he does. He's a pro, so it'd be a fucking tough matchup for me. But that's the one I wanted from the start. But yeah, I suppose I'd probably have to try and just break him down. I always try and break people down and do it in a way that hasn't been done as much, or at least put my own spin on it. And I always try and be direct in battles, and I think that's something that has maybe benefited me in the iBattle tournament, because the people that I battled were all very good, and they were all quite close. I do think that my stuff was more directly applied to them than any of the three people that I battled. Not to say that they didn't have good shit for me, but they had some bars that maybe they could have used in any battle. Whereas the majority of my shit I could only use specifically for them. And I think people take notice of that. So I think that definitely worked to my advantage. So I'm going to continue to do that, rebuttal that, everything I put. I've been looking at some angles that I might go with. I'm not sure exactly which one I'm going to go with, but I'm going to look to break him down. Because he has been good. The ones he's done. So yeah, look, see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good approach, and I do agree with you to a certain extent, but like, I thought the visual battle the recent visual battle where he went out of the tournament, I thought his opponent was really good, but there was nothing particularly direct to visual, whereas visual was direct and took the loss. It was a bit of a strange one. I thought visual, in terms of like a direct approach, clearly took that, but I guess it's the good thing about iBattle, I guess, though, is they've got such like a broad roster. Like, they've got so many different kind of battlers on their roster that it attracts like all fan bases, I guess. But yeah,
they've battlers that you see on any of the other leagues that do well on there. And then they've got like seasoned vets that come in that have battled everywhere and they do well on there. They've got their own kind of roster as well of up and comers. I really, really enjoy iBattle. I think it's a great league.
Yeah, I think they're the most exciting league about at the moment, if I'm honest. I
think it is. And I like that they've that whole kind of ECW of battle rap. I like that. I used to look at DFI, like Don't Flop Ireland, and the Fighting Irish that came from that. I used to describe that as being like ECW, because the fans were so engrossed in it and felt like such a part of it. And because the majority of the battles were in the pit, it felt like they were involved, and it had such a hardcore following of people that used to see the same few hundred people show up every time.
Like a proper community feel to it.
Yeah, there really is. There's a real sense of community about it, and I'd love to get over there at some point.
Definitely, yeah. I'd really like to go out and just go to an event as a fan. To be honest, like it looks like one of the best atmospheres, especially nowadays in battle rap. I was talking to Canal, because Canal's been out there, and he was saying like it was incredible. Like, everybody made him feel welcome as soon as he arrived, and he's got long-standing friends over there now and stuff. It just it's not like you hear some of the stories from UK battlers like Dialect or Euthorical that have gone over to King of the Dot and just had people talk over their battles, and then they've gone home again kind of thing. It's they're actual fans that aren't just there to see the main event kind of thing. You know, it's good. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it is like definitely it does look like a good crowd to go to. And yeah, it's good to hear Canal say that as well. You know that he was treated well over there. Like I like to think that when people come to Ireland to battle as well, like we do we treat them well, and kind of generally people tend to come back again and again. Like this is Soros' second time battling here now. And he said he'd love to be back again, you know. And it's cool, like you become friends with these people, you know,
Yeah.
through battling at same events and battling against them. And it's nice to have that sense of community within battle rap as a whole as well, you know. Like I know there's different leagues and they have totally different crowds and shit like that, but there is kind of between ourselves, kind of the UK, I battle, some of the King of the Dock crowd. There's kind of a nice kind of community of people there that all kind of acknowledge and appreciate each other, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, it's nice to see as well. But like, you know, I'm hoping. I was hoping to get over there this summer, to be honest. But with everything that's going on at the moment, it doesn't look like it's going to be able to happen. But is there, to your knowledge? Obviously, I know there's going to be setbacks with anything that's planned due to, you know, current state of affairs. But is there any big events planned for the rest of this year in Ireland at all?
In Ireland, not 100% at the moment. I know that there's a Rapper's Fall in June. Now, obviously, that depends on how this current situation pans out. And I think there is supposed to be another Rapper's Fall this summer at some point, where I'm going to do a big Irish versus Irish one. And there was to be an event that Matt was going to put on in the UK. And I think that's still going to go ahead in some capacity. So I should be battling.
Was that the Liverpool event that they mentioned?
I think it was one for London, but there is also a Liverpool event planned. So I don't know what the crack is with that now, with everything that's after happening. The next big one that I know that's definitely going to happen is Broken Resolutions, which will be next January or February, you know. But that's a bit of that's a long way away. I have a opponent potentially lined up for that. That would be huge, like Thesaurus big, you know, for that. I'm not going to say who it is, but basically the night that I battled Thesaurus, I got an inbox off a big name battler telling me he wants to come here to battle. So I told Matt about it at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll have that for this one next year." So yeah, there's definitely going to be big battles. We just have to wait for everything to fucking die down.
Nice. I'm excited to find out what that'll be, man. And you know, there's a lot of people that I'd like to see you go up against as well. Like you mentioned earlier that you know, when the Thesaurus battle got booked, you could pick him out of a name of like 5 people or something. But one thing that I am asking people is, if you could pick 5 matchups for yourself, who would you pick currently?
Right, so I'm probably going to think of everything mad recent, although this dude has battled fairly recently as well, so I'll put him in there, and he had a big one, a big win. Tony D will be one.
Okay.
I'm a huge Tony fan. I have been
Me too.
literally his debut. I really rate him. I love his writing. And yeah, he's someone that I'd love to battle. I've actually never seen Tony battle in person, so I was gutted that his battle with Kenemo couldn't go ahead. Obviously, look, sometimes these things can't be had.
But I'd love to see him battle here again. I would hope that him and Terminal will battle still. But yeah, he'd be one that would be on there for me. If we're talking like worldwide, anybody, yeah,
Yeah, anyone at all.
anyone. Hollow would be one.
Yeah.
Definitely love to battle. Because he's one of my favourites ever. I think like he's been for years, and I'm always excited to see him battle. He can freestyle really well, and he can wave the freestyles and the flips into like mid verse and make it work, which is really fucking tough to do. So yeah, definitely him. I think Matt Hoffman. I'd love to battle Matt, because he's one of the original people that I first watched. So he'd be
Yeah.
definitely a big one. Immaculate, because like the Saurus, he's been around forever, and he's always been one of the best, and he's done it like so consistently over all these eras. So yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say he just guarantees quality as well, doesn't he?
every time, he never phones it in ever. So that's flawed. If I was gonna go for a fifth, this is a tough one. Respect BA.
Do you know what? If I could pick one matchup that, especially a matchup that was kind of easily achievable, I think it would be you versus Respect BA.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, it hasn't been like looked at being booked or anything like that. But I know that's a matchup that Matt said he'd like to see at some point.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of BA. He doesn't battle very often, and I think that only adds to his kind of mystique as a battler. Do you know what I mean? Like he's on that level of writing, like Tony D, Ilmac kind of level of writing that's just incredible. But there's kind of a mystery about him. Do you know what I mean? He kind of comes back every now and again and does one or a few battles, and then he goes away again for a bit. And I think that just it makes people want him to do it more, you know. And he's always for his battle with Ilmac is incredible. And obviously he did battle for years before that, and to come back and be just that good against one of the best, if not the best in the world at the time. Like, yeah, I definitely think it's a matchup. And like you said, maybe it could be realistic. I don't know if he'd be into it. But yeah, I suppose it's a potential option there if anyone wants to book that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think he'd be into it, considering the last battle that he accepted was Bonnie Godiva. I mean, he's got to. If he's offered you in Ireland, he's got to say yes, surely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, him versus Bonnie was not this match. Really
I
was.
enjoyed him. Like he was good in that battle, but yeah, for Don't Flop, especially at that time, that was their comeback event, having not done an event for a year. Just booking her made no sense to me.
Yeah, to be honest, like, no disrespect to Bonnie, I hate to kind of slate anyone, but I'm not a fan of Bonnie, and
No, I just find that she's more of a gimmick than she is of a battler. There's some really talented female battlers out there, and for me, she's just not one of them. She shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's much better female battlers, and I think that's like female battlers, like especially over the last few years in the US, like there's a lot more now that are fucking fire as well, you know.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I probably don't watch enough of them. But yeah, no, there's a few that have been fucking fire. And there was a female in the iBattle tournament, but she dropped out. Flawless. And
she had got through the first round, and then she had CJA in the second, and she didn't submit her video.
Oh right. I think I did see her first video. Yeah, there's a girl that battles on iBattle as well. I think her name was Yasmin. She looked pretty good. She
Right.
battled a guy called like Monster Leakness or something bizarre, but yeah, there's quite a few coming through at the moment. Like obviously RX and Myverse just happened at Town Business, and that was really fucking good.
It's like it's good to see all females doing well in battling, and being footy, because it is a bit of a sausage fest at times. It's a very male dominated thing, like, and I think that can probably be a bit intimidating for girls as well, because you often hear people get referenced in the audience and shit like that as well. So, I mean, maybe a lot of girls look at battle rap events and think, Jesus, these dudes all seem like creeps. And I think as well, kind of, in a lot of scenes, battlers haven't really helped themselves. And I've heard of some shocking shit happen. So yeah, it's a total fucking sausage fest.
Yeah, definitely.
In fairness, I'd hate to think that any of the girls are kind of in any way kind of subjected to some of the shit that I've heard happening in other scenes. Like, there are girls who come to our events, and from what I see, they have a good time and none of that shit goes on. Like, but I don't think they'd be tolerated, to be honest with you.
No, and it shouldn't be either.
Yeah, that's like I've never seen a UK event either. I have heard of it happening at a couple of different leagues there, but nothing I've ever been to. Like, I used to go down flop all the time, like when I was battling there, and it was always cool.
Yeah, I think, especially with the kind of forum culture nowadays within battle rap as well, like if anything like that was to happen, people would know straight away, and the person responsible would just know not to come to an event again.
Well, that's it. The person that was held responsible would have to put up a post and say, "Now I feel I need to address that."
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't spend a lot of time in the forums just because I think a lot of it's just a bit fucking in-joke and a bit weird. But there's been a lot going on the last couple of days with some kid from Shrewsbury in there.
Yeah, I think this is Chris B or something, is it?
Yeah, I think he's the guy that, like, I think I saw a battle of his, and he's got this like American accent, even though I don't think he's from America, and wears like a cowboy hat and stuff. It's a bit bizarre.
Well, this is the thing. When that battle was announced, he put up a video of himself, and it's him in the cowboy hat with the American accent.
Yeah.
I think actually, was he announced against Canal?
That would make sense. I know that Canal's planning to do his own event for Don't Flop, like in, I think it's Chester that he's from. So maybe they're battling on that card.
I think it was when that one was announced. And I commented on it and said, after watching this video, I think it's really likely that this fella is going to follow Canal home and kidnap him. And I think if you look at wherever that video was posted, I think my comment was originally on there. And then he gets accused in his next battle of following someone home. But it's mental. Like, and weird shit has happened over the years in the battle scene, on the forums. And the Irish Forum, are you a member of the Irish Forum?
Yeah, I'm in there. Yeah,
it's a bit more relaxed, and for most of the time, it's a bit more relaxed than jokey. And I think because the majority of the people on the Irish Battle Forum all know each other personally. Like, I've probably seen 10 people that are on that forum were in the last couple of weeks just in normal life, you know, like bump into them places, like, you know.
Yeah.
So everyone's a bit more kind of just has a bit of laugh with it. Other than that, it's just me putting up videos, shit talking, which I've done a lot of. I don't know if you've ever seen the classic DVD series about Row B. But basically, when me and Row B got announced, I was putting up call-out videos for him fucking every day or two for months before the battle.
Right.
In
Okay.
making up random stuff about him, accusing him of past instances that never happened. It started out with me. Some of the stories were true, and this was the thing. And I think the original story started off with how me and him had actually done a 2-on-2 against each other that has never come out. And then Robbie responded, and then I told this other story about where I basically almost got the shit kicked out of me at a music festival by protecting Robbie's guitar, because Robbie had gone off somewhere and his guitar was in a tent, and some people showed up and tried to take a lend of it, and I had to stop them. And they said, well, it got a bit tense. They eventually walked away. And when Robbie came back and I told him, he was like, oh, was it those people at those tents over there? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, he was like, oh, you should have just let them have it. And I was like, fuck you, Robbie. I nearly got battered for this. But yeah, I did all talking absolute shit about him. And I made up like real random, like nonsensical fucking reasons that I had issues with him. And he started responding, and that went on for months. And every one of them started with me saying, another DVD, Robbie. Because I've been watching these Traveller call-out videos, and they start off a lot of the videos by referring to the videos as DVDs. I saw that DVD.
Okay.
And it's kind of their new way of saying video. Like, whereas you used to call a VHS a videotape, and then a clip of something is a video, well, they call it DVD because that's the new format. So yeah, I took that and just ran with it. And even in the battle with Robbie, I think after his third round, I just look at him and say, or his second round, I look at him and say, another DVD, Robbie. Just because I knew it'd get a reaction off people, like, you know. But yeah, the Irish forum, there is a bit of shit, there is a bit of arguing on it, but for the most part, we just have a laugh because we know we're going to have to see all these people in real life, and nobody really wants to fight over battle rap.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a laugh, and the only time I've really ever seen anybody kind of kicking off on there, I'm a big Raptor fan, and I met him at the Cardiff event, and I'm a big fan of him as a person, but he's very opinionated, isn't he? To be fair to him, but
Raptor's like we see each other all the time. And I talk to him all the time. I run any battle I ever do. I always run my bars past him. And boy, he's mad for argument. And like they don't always tell you if he disagrees with even the slightest thing. And he's completely honest. Like, and it's one of his biggest. It's one of his kind of best traits is how honest he is. But he just can't help himself.
yeah. Yeah, he's I remember speaking to him.
The thing is, even him and Matt had a massive argument on the battle the forum a couple of weeks ago, which everyone saw. And even when they were like completely going at each other in the argument, they were still kind of weirdly showing each other respect. In that, I respect our reasons for being so angry here, you know. But yeah, he's a great guy, but he's had a lot of arguments. That's like my whole second round against him was about that.
Yeah, I do remember.
You argue with people on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, the only other thing I've really seen on that forum is, the Irish forum is people slating Chucky P, which is completely justified in every sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely more fun than the UK battle rap one. Anyway, I end up leaving and rejoining that forum every couple of months, generally speaking. But
Yeah, I've seen some shit on that. Especially, it's kind of some of them have quieted down, but there did used to be these little pockets of really, really negative entities of people that used to just team up with each other. It's like they're attracted by the negativity. Um, and they just slate everything. They look for every opportunity to cut anyone down, insult people, and just be cunts.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's shit to say. Like,
definitely.
there's people on our forum that we take the piss out of, and I've always said at any point if me taking the piss out of you becomes an issue to you, you just need to tell me and I'll apologize and I won't do it again. And
Do you know
I'm
what?
one of the
That does
people.
actually remind me, like, what is
Well, it's
who
all
is
right.
this Butters character?
Sorry.
Who's this Butters character that I keep seeing something about someone called Butters? Is that right?
Yeah, man, that's a story. So, Butters debuted the day that I battled Raptor, the day that I came back. And he battled against Dion Bone, who is Podge's younger brother.
Okay.
And Dion seemed to forget his material a lot, didn't seem very well prepared. Butters, on the other hand, remembered all his material, but spit it at just breakneck speed the whole way through. And it was very random stuff. But in the end, he won. The other guy even walked off at one point. And Butters gave out a CD on the day called Butters Love Songs. And it was this just CD of him rapping over famous beats. And the cover was handmade, but had like a big love heart and all on it. And he has a version of God's Plan. And when it comes to the hook, it's him in a very thick Irish country accent, just going, God's plan, God's plan, God's plan, God's plan, for like 15 seconds every hook. But he has another song which has a video. It's called I Need a Bat. And the hook is him singing about how he needs a bat. And then all the verses are about the bat that he has and his mother calling him in for a bat. But one of the lines says something about sex games with my little cousins. And it's like, it's very, hold on. This is kind of a bizarre from B12 type bar. And the music video actually has some views. But in it, he's filming himself around his hometown, which is this little town in the sticks out in the middle of nowhere. And his friend has like an old Nissan Micra. And at one point, his friend is driving around a car park in the town they live in with Butters on the roof of the car, holding on at each window like he's flat down on the car. And the car's just speeding around. It's bizarre. But he came back and he battled the younger battlers on Rap is Full, a dude called Scotty Big. And he had like one of the biggest say it again moments in Irish battle rap. And it's so wrong. I wasn't there. I was not there when this happened. He had a line, I'm an adult, you're a minor. I'm your repeat rapist sex offender. And everyone asked him to say it again, and he said it again. But he had his missus with him, and she appears to be about twice his age. And she just looked disgusted standing in his back. And it was like, wow. And I listened to like some of his songs. I don't know if this is a previous girlfriend he's talking about, but he's talking about how he's the stepfather to the kids and he does this and he does that.
And it's like, man, you're weird. You shouldn't be looking after people's kids, dude. But yeah, like he's 2-0 on Rap is Full. I about his battles because people cheered for him more than the other person. He was more entertaining. Scotty, he's young and he's only finding his feet. The second guy he battled, and maybe had in terms of battle rap better material than Butters did, but Butters just got more response. It was weird, but yeah, he's a very strange guy. Even in his battle, he starts randomly insulting people from the forum, and talking about like how such and such banned him from the forum and all. I think he's banned from the league. I'm not sure. But yeah, just a very, very strange guy. He presents his own TV kind of show on YouTube, or at least he used to, called Butters TV.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check all this out. This is.
Oh, definitely.
I'm really glad I asked.
Definitely do. He's just one of those people. He's one of those characters that only battle rap can attract. Just these
Definitely
weird people.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm really glad I asked about that now because I've been seeing it mentioned quite a lot. And just never understood, but
I often tweet at people like New Jersey Twerk or whoever, or if URL tweet, who should URL get on the main stage next? I always say Butters. I always tell battlers that they're ducking Butters, like big names, just so that they can find out about the mystery of Butters too.
Oh, that's brilliant. But there's no chance of seeing him battle again in the future then, I'm guessing.
I don't know. Like I always ask Rory to book him again. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. But yeah, just a strange character. And there's been a few of them. There's been quite a few of them have shown up to battle rap events over the years. I don't know if you've ever seen, but back at the third DFY event, have you ever seen Redzar versus MC Dove?
I'm not sure that I have.
It would have been one of the biggest Irish battles on Don't Flop. And it was a guy who had been around for years on the internet. He was a bit older than us all, but he used to put up these diss tracks for people. It was very kind of drum and bassish at times, but he was just kind of a funny kind of character that hated everyone. And he came up and he battled Redzer and he got 3-0. But on the day, a lot of random shit happened. And I was having a burger inside, and Soyo had battled this guy called L Demon, and L Demon showed up to the event on death's door. He was in a really bad way. This bad. But some guy, see him hanging around. He was a real kind of. He clearly got to the end, and he had the market, right? He's standing around quietly watching with his girlfriend all day. So after all the battles were over, Icon the Mic King was playing, but we were waiting around. So I went upstairs to have a burger. A nuisance came in and told me that Soyo was battling a random character on the street. And I was like, I really want to have this burger. I'm starving. Is someone filming it? So they were like, yeah. So DJ Mo K, he's like, he DJs on one of our national stations here. Okay. He filmed the whole thing, and the whole thing's on YouTube. Basically, what happened was there was like a cypher going on outside, and this dude, this Eminem wannabe, had clearly come up here with he lived somewhere out in the sticks, but he'd come obviously thinking he could just come to the event and battle someone. So when he saw the cypher outside, he jumped at the chance and he started going in on Soyo. So Soyo went back at him, and your man was very kind of Americanized and shit like this, and it was corny what he was doing. Messiah was just clowning. And at some point, an old man walks into the battle and has no idea what's going on, and he looks like he's trapped inside a rap battle. He's clearly drunk. And then a few minutes later, this dude walks up, and he's clearly like down and out, homeless, on drugs, looks off his tits, and he walks up, and the dude that Soya was battling against starts calling him a junkie. And him and your man are hugging each other and shaking hands and all. And Soya was like, why are you hugging him, mate? He just called you a junkie. And with that, this guy just turns on Soya, starts pushing him. They're pushing each other. Soya was like, what the fuck are you doing? And your man's like, yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tries to knee Soya on the balls. And Soya pushes him away. The other dude is still freestyling as this is happening, telling this guy to kick the shit out of Soya. Soya basically just pushes, doesn't back down, push your man away. Your man kind of crumbles and kind of tries to apologize and asks Soya for a smoke. Soya pulls out his smokes and just starts bouncing them off the dude's head one by one. They fall all over the ground. Your man picks them up. Soya goes back to completely destroying the other fella in this battle. It's fucking, there's footage of it. If you look up Amazing Rap Battle in Dublin, it has loads of views. But after the battle ended, Soya went and approached the dude who had come up that he'd had a bit of the scuffle with, the homeless guy, and brings him into the venue and buys him a pint. Because Soya's just a nice guy like that. And he actually is. He's a really nice dude. But the dude didn't leave. And afterwards, he kind of hung around trying to get people to give him some of their points. So at the end of the night, we're all outside in the smoking area, and it's kind of it's an old kind of Georgian style building, like the building that's in. So when you go out into the smoking area, you're below street level, and there's a set of steps that you can walk up onto the street. So your man's standing there, and he's asking people for a sup of their point, and no one gave him a sup of their point. So he smashed a glass and said he was going to stab us. And I'm standing like 4 feet from him at this point, talking to someone, and then all the battlers' girlfriends are like right beside us. So I kind of step backwards, like with my arms out, kind of pushing back, saying to them, come on, we all back up a bit here. And like the smallest dude there walks up, grabs his arm, and just starts talking him down. So eventually the police come in, they arrest him, and he's dragged away. And that was pretty much the end of the event. The event was over by that stage, but it was fucking crazy. But there's footage of that, of the battle, the freestyle battle online. It's not particularly a good battle, but it's a funny thing to watch. It's about 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I've just found it on YouTube. I think it's split into 2 parts, but it's part 1 has got like 90,000 views, so it's obviously quite well celebrated in that sense. It looks it's from about 9 years ago. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it would have been around then. And the thing was, after that, the guy who Soyo had battled, he was a fella called Fuzzy. And he kind of taught himself a bit gangster or whatever, you know. He was originally from Dublin, but he lives out in like a little seaside town in the sticks. And he started putting up diss tracks for Soil. And he raps in this weird kind of Irish-American accent. And at one point, he was supposed to battle Soil at a DFI. They were going to have a proper battle, and it never happened. But he spent a long time dissing Soil. It was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I've just added it to my watch list on YouTube, so I'll give it a go straight after this. But yeah, there's I don't think there's ever been an event that I've been to that hasn't brought up some form of story somewhere along the lines. There's always drama in battle rap, but yeah, in terms of like music and stuff, like. Have you ever gigged with any like really recognizable artists or anything like that? Because I know you've been doing music longer than you've been battling. Is that right?
Yeah. I've been just doing music and did that for a couple of years.
the battling kind of really helped with the music because it got my name out there. And when I started putting out music videos, they started getting some big views off the back of that as well.
Sure.
But yeah, in terms of kind of big names that I've gigged with, I not huge names. Like I've battled on the biggest music festival here now would be Electric Picnic, and that would have kind of, you know, a lot of big names. It would usually have, you know, the likes of fucking a big name band. I think like the Prodigy played there, J5, like Blow, people like that, Noel Gallagher. I played that like twice on one of the stages. They would have always been to like big crowds, and there would have been actually the same stages that we played. Like some big name kind of Irish acts would have played, but not major. In terms of over here, I did a song which would have come out like 2 years ago tomorrow. There's kind of for quite a while now, there's been a major like housing crisis in Ireland. There's a massive problem, and people are suffering quite a bit at the bottom end, you know. So there's like homelessness at that point was pushing up towards 10,000 people, and Focus Ireland would be like one of Ireland's biggest homeless charities, that do a lot of work to house people. And one of the guys who was all their kind of media sort of stuff would know of my music through his nephew being a fan, and he hit me up and basically said he'd like me to make a song for them. He actually hit me up, I think it was Patrick's Day 2018, a few weeks out from the rap, and he said, look, you need to have it done within a week, you know, song, video, everything. So I wrote the song in 20 minutes the following day, and he had asked me on the Saturday, Friday or Saturday, I think we had the video and everything done like in under a week, and we put it out. As a result of that, a kind of a big name folk singer from here actually, Luca Bloom, his brother would be Christy Moore, who a lot of people would know from Don't Forget to Shovel If You Want to Go to Work, and kind of all kind of folk stuff in the 80s and shit like that. But he actually hit me up when the song came out to say he was a big fan. And he'd actually have a bit of a name in the Irish music scene. Also, Damien Dempsey, who'd be quite a big name here in terms of music. I would have performed with him on the day. Like the Focus Ireland had a massive march, and I performed the song as well. So that was big. There was massive press coverage for that. Like every major news and media publication in Ireland featured the video that week. It got like about 200,000 views in a week. So I got like there was a performance to a fair few thousand that did alongside Damien Dempsey. He performed as well. In terms of rap, I opened up for Odyssey in Good Company once.
Nice.
Ladders in Edinburgh about 12 years ago, before they were big. But yeah, no, I haven't really performed a lot of gigs alongside big name people, but I've done some big gigs. Like I played the Thousands quite a few times at different kind of events and stuff like that here that we used to get booked for.
Sure. Nice. Yeah, I mean, is there an opportunity to go to a lot of hip hop gigs in Ireland or in Dublin?
It's a bit like when I was younger, in terms of big name hip hop acts or just gigs in general, when I was like kind of like 18, 19, 20, I always had 3 or 4 tickets for gigs, you know, and there'd be some big ones. Like I remember going to see like Snoop here, went to see Nas, Jay-Z, people like that, but smaller names as well. Like I've seen Necro here, Atmosphere, Brother Ali, and people like that. And then when the worldwide kind of recession hit, that became less frequent, because just less people had money, I suppose, to pay for going to concerts and stuff like that. So there was less of it. But I've noticed the last few years a massive explosion of gigs again. Like Wu-Tang played here, and fucking actually Low Key. I meant to go see Low Key this month, but I don't think that's going to happen now. Actually, I think that would have been this weekend, and that's not going to happen. Shotty was meant to be here as well this coming weekend.
Oh yeah, I did see that actually.
Yeah, that's been cancelled. So yeah, there would be, like, in terms of Irish hip hop, there's a new kind of newer kind of Irish hip hop scene that sprang up the last few years. That's a lot more successful than we would have been back then in terms of gigs and of kind of getting a bit more press recognition and stuff like that. So yeah, there is a lot of local hip hop gigs now that do well.
Nice. Yeah, it's like in Cardiff, there's barely anything. Like I've lived here for about 3 years, no, about 4 years now, and the only gigs really that have interested me in terms of hip hop that I've been to is like Skinny Man was booked in like a 50 capacity tiny little pub. I saw. It was cool. It was really cool. It was random. He turned up about an hour late. He'd been in hospital for 3 days beforehand and had discharged himself from hospital and ripped a drip out of his arm just to make it to the gig, which was pretty cool. But he struggled with the gig. You could tell that. But apart from that, like I've seen Loki here actually. I think that was last summer, just around the time he released his latest album. And I've seen R.A. the Rugged Man here, but
I've never seen him. I keep anytime he's been coming, but other shit's come up. But he's someone I'd love to see. I never got to see Rhyme Asylum, which I've always been pissed off about because I would love to see them play live.
Yeah, I've not seen them either, and I would have loved to have. I did see the other day actually that Skirmish is planning on releasing some more music. I think it's solo stuff, but I think he's got an album coming.
I'm a big fan of Skirmish. Like kind of the first album. You see, I always thought that his style kind of contrasted Possessed of Cyclone in that he didn't do as much of the kind of double meanings and metaphors and stuff like that. He used to talk about his life a bit more and stuff like that on a lot of the stuff, you know. And I liked it. I thought that they meshed well in that way as well. But you can also do the other style as well, the kind of the metaphor and the more kind of cyphery verses that like Rome Asylum are known for. But he has a verse, I think it's 32 bars on one of the songs on the first album. That was like my favourite verse on the whole album. It flows so well. I can't remember the name of the song. Is it Laying in the Faith?
Is that off the Solitary Confinement album?
Yeah. It's so good. And then he had some of my favourite verses on the second album too. His they have that one Life Support on the second album. It's towards the end. It's a song about kind of love and up. His verse on that is so sick, and I love it. I was always gonna like it because it has a Big L reference in it. But when I first went to Don Flops, I remember Skirmish judged me and Nate, which was like the first one I battled on. And I spoke to him outside afterwards, and he was saying he really enjoyed it. He thought that like mine was the best there that day, that bar, like, you know. And I was like, oh, you know, I was delighted because it's Skirmish. And then at the next event, he was there again, and I think him and Possessed maybe were judging the battle, and both gave it to me. And he said to me afterwards, like, that I was his favourite out of all the battlers now. And I was like, holy shit, that's really cool. And then me a video that they did with Blizzard, like an interview, where Blizzard was interviewing him for a YouTube channel. And he was talking to them about battling, and Skirmish again said, you know, Nugget, I really rate him. And I was like, holy shit, like, this is such an honor to me, like, to have someone like that say it, because I'm a big fan of his. Like, I love his music, like.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome, man. I remember, like, seeing an interview of some description. I think it could have been a battle rap resume interview where Shuffle T was saying that Drake came up to him at a King of the Dot event and told him that him and Marlo were his favourites of all time. For me, I'd much rather hear it from Skirmish. Like growing up on Rhyme, like I grew up on Rhyme Asylum and all that kind of stuff, and it must be fucking crazy to hear that from them.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's similar to Tony D had like a couple of times kind of praised that no dogs, no blacks, no Irish bars. And like said it's one of his favourites like ever, you know. And like hearing that from someone like him is just like, whoa shit, like that's madness, you know.
Yeah.
In the battle tournament, there's like a group chat that has all the battlers in it on Messenger, and Marv quoted like the first bar I think I had in the tournament, which was fucking battling someone whose name sounds like Netflix for criminals, and he quoted that and like that's so good. And I was like, holy shit, that's someone I've been watching like since I was like late teens, probably like battling online, like watching my battle and quote the bar from it. It's weird, you know.
Yeah, I bet it must feel fucking awesome though. To be fair, like even like I did like a random like it wasn't even a freestyle battle as such, but a random don't flop event. I think 2 years ago now, when they were just starting to build it back up, like a couple of fans were doing like a bit of a cipher, which turned into like a 2-bar back and forth freestyle type thing. And like I remember coming up to me after and being like, "You were good. Like you should get involved." And just thinking, "Fucking hell!" Like I've been watching. Like battle rap's become something that I'm obsessed with now. Like I watch it pretty much on a daily basis, and I've been watching this guy host battles and be involved in battles since day one. Like it's a cool feeling.
Oh, definitely. It is. It's like I always say to people, like when someone like that is telling you you're good, it's like going to a game of five-a-side, and you know at the end of your game of five-a-side you're walking off the pitch and like fucking Messi or Ronaldo are standing there and they're like, yeah, good game, and it's nice like to be appreciated by someone that you know you look up to and you rate that highly, you know. So yeah, having people like Marv or whoever watch the battles say they enjoy it, and shit like that is insane. He actually said as well in the group chat that he feels I have an unfair advantage with the accent in the tournament. I think that's more kind of jokingly, but I can kind of see a point that if one person has a different accent to everybody else, that might actually stand out a bit as long as they can understand it.
Yeah,
because
I guess you're right.
I think sometimes the accent gets in the way. I don't think I've had as much trouble with it as everyone else has, or as some people have, but it does get in the way at times. And sometimes it's out of ignorance as well. People hear the accent and they just say, nah, I'm not listening to a guy rapping an accent like this. Which
I can see what you mean. Like I lived in Sweden for a couple of years, and I got one of my Swedish mates like really into battle rap, and he kind of discovered it around like 2014, 15 maybe. So he was going back through all the old battles and watching them and stuff. And I remember him. He's like, because he's from Sweden, he's a big like Henry Bowers fan, and like he'll go for more like the comedic style in that sense. But he watched a lot of Irish battles, having never really heard an Irishman speak before, and the only person I remember him saying he struggled with was Sayo.
Yeah. Hello? You hear me?
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, mate, you dipped out for about half a minute or so there.
No, but
Yeah, I think the connection might have gone on your end, man. It's
can you hear me?
yeah, there we go. That's better.
Just a second. I'm closer to me. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Excellent. Yeah, with Soils as Dublin gets, he has a very, very old Dublin,
Yeah, definitely.
which to me, I think sounds better than any of ours, or to other people might not be as clear. Like, I think people have always said to me that they found it relatively easy to understand in the way I speak. And so when I'm rapping as well. And so, yeah, maybe it'd probably be a bit easier to understand me. Whereas I think for a Dublin person, most Dublin people would prefer to listen to him rap. I always find like the Swedish ones, and in general, I've always found European people with speaking English, if it's not their first language and they learn it later in life, they always have this weird kind of European American accent that sounds like they learn English from watching movies and watching episodes of Friends.
Yeah, I mean, they really do as well. Like one of my mate, the guy that I met kind of first in Sweden that I became really good friends with. They learn in Sweden. They start school at the age of 7, but don't finish until they're 18, and then they go off to like what we call college and then university kind of thing. But they start school at 7, and as soon as they start to learn English. But he was saying like the reason that he learned English is because out of say the 10 TV channels that he had growing up, 5 of them would be American shows with Swedish subtitles. So like he grew up watching stuff like MacGyver and learned English that way, and I think it's similar for most of Europe, really.
That's how I've always kind of thought it would be, because it just seems like to make the most sense as to why they do pick up a bit of an American twang. It's different if you learn English from English people making you speak English. You don't tend to get that.
No.
So I think that with like Irish people, it's the language for the majority of people, and we just have like an Irish accent on it. French people and Spanish people sometimes get the American twang, but a lot of them retain their accent. But yeah, definitely, I've heard a lot of Germans speak English, and it's weird because they speak German in this strong German kind of really distinct accent, but then they start trying to speak English, and like it's just this weird Americanism start coming out. Like it's quite. But the Swedish battle scene was pretty big at one point. I recall, yeah.
It was, yeah, and I'm pretty annoyed. Like, really, it's my only regret, like not actually making it to an event over there, because I lived there when the scene was popping, really, but I lived quite far up north, and a lot of the events would happen in like a city called Malmo, which is like as far south as you can go. So to have gone to an event, it would have meant either flying to Stockholm and then getting a 6-hour train from there, or getting like a 19-hour train from where I live down to Malmo just for an event, and I could never really justify doing it. But
Shit, it would probably be almost than it would have been for you to get almost where you were.
yeah, definitely. It was like it's a strange country in that sense. Like even where I lived, the train station for the city that I lived in was actually like 55 kilometers away from the city. Like it's a very secluded place in that sense. But yeah, it was. They had a good scene. Like obviously Henry Bowers went on to battle all over the world, and Shazam, I think his name was. I think he was on Don't Flop a couple of times. Yeah, they had quite a cool scene going on there, and it looks like there's a bit of a scene developing again around Scandinavia. Like I see quite a lot of British battlers end up going over to Denmark quite a lot, and I know Mata recently battled in Norway as well. I know they've got a new league going, so hopefully they can rebuild it.
I definitely love to go to Weird, oddly enough, I actually had people travel here from Denmark a few years back to interview me for, like, it was basically their equivalent kind of like A levels or whatever, and they were like 18, and they came here basically just to interview me about a music video I had for a project that they were doing. And it was real random. They just hit me up one day on YouTube. We really like your song. We want to interview you. Can we fly to Dublin and meet you? But that happened a couple of times. I had a dude come here from Vegas once as well for his college dissertation. He transferred over here for a couple of months to meet a couple of the Irish rappers and interviewed him and to put us into it. But yeah, I'd love to go to like the battle events in Sweden always looked fucking rammed. Like they looked like they were in fucking proper sick venues.
Yeah. There was definitely a big scene there in Denmark as well. I think it's really popular. But I think
that was battle time, that 2011 to about 2015 or 16, maybe even 2010 up to there. But when it really got big, like around 2012 to 2016, there were so many big battle events going on where you just had people traveling from everywhere, and you'd obviously King of the Dot, growing time at the start as well. We're bringing people over from different places, and all the World Dom events, all the big checkpoint events, and fucking the birthday events and shit like that, and all the ministry events that Don't Flop had. And then there was big ones going on in Sweden as well, Australia, everywhere. Battling was popping. And it's lost its way a little bit the last few years. But yeah, it was such a fun time to see so many different leagues work with each other and send talent back and forth and all, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I remember, like, after I lived in Sweden, I moved to Germany for a couple of years, and I had a mate from school who was an exchange student from Berlin. So I went to visit him in Berlin, and he was just like, "Oh, I've seen, you post a couple of like rap battle videos on your Facebook and stuff." He was like, "There's an event here this weekend, so do you want to go?" And I was just like, "Yeah, of course, why not?" And it was a Don't Let the Label You event, so Jolly J's German league.
Yeah.
And I was expecting like something small scale. I didn't expect it to be anything big at all. Walked into this venue and there's hundreds and hundreds of people there. Just like I just really like, obviously because it's all in German. I'd never seen the league before, but they were going crazy for it, and like it was surreal going to an event in another country. Like I didn't understand the thing that was going on. I just moved there and I couldn't speak any German whatsoever. But just the atmosphere there it was one of the best events that I've been to, and I didn't understand anything, if that makes sense. It was incredible.
That's mad. It's so worldwide now, like that people are just like the Russian leagues, the fit. I remember the first time I found out about Flip Top. Because I remember thinking, like, I used to look and say, oh shit, such and such's battle has 1 million views. Like, that's mental. There's a battle with 1 million views. Then someone showed me Flip Top, and I was like, that battle has 6 million views. It's been up 2 days. What the fuck is going on? And then you see the crowds, like, what the fuck?
I know. Those guys are like fucking celebrities out there. They're like, I think I saw something not too long ago that one of the big names from Flip Top, I can't remember his name for the life of me now. I think it could be Looney. Yeah, I think he got arrested.
Yeah, and he was claiming it was like some kind of, because the drug laws are so strict over there. He said he was being done for like, being this big marijuana fucking grower and shit. But he basically said that this whole thing was a setup over the battle rap thing, and they wanted to shut him down.
Yeah.
Which seems fucking mental. Like your man who was in charge over there is like a fucking despot, like, so I don't know. Maybe that's why Flip Top is so big, because it's not an easy place to live by any means, and this is one of the few things that they have, and they just all get behind it. It kind of goes against the grain, and it's kind of counterculture. And because they're so, that's actually become, which is fucking. It's amazing, like that in a place where they're clearly living. There's a lot of poverty. They're living under a fucking oppressive regime, that they can have something that big, and that battle rap is giving them that.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're right. Yeah, and I think the Russian league is similar in that sense, because when you look at the big names in Russia, like Oxy Miron, the guy that battled Disaster,
huge then,
massive in Russia, but he doesn't actually live in Russia. He
probably can't.
No, like I'm pretty sure he lives in the UK. Actually, I know he went to a British uni. I know that, but like he only returns to Russia to battle, as far as I know. Like it's a big deal over there.
Massive. I think the thing that's kind of with Irish battling, when it was around, it had such a dedicated fan base, and it's strange because Ireland back then were for the most part, were unwilling to accept Irish hip hop, and it's become more accepted now with other artists. But had we had kind of, I don't know, if maybe Irish hip hop had been a bit more mainstream by the time we started doing the battle thing, we could have had something bigger again.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly huge at the time. And I don't know, I think battle rap here in the UK, it doesn't seem to be getting the same traction it used to get. It's harder to get the views and get the fans in.
100%. But then again, there's, with the UK scene, I think the last thing that I want to do with this podcast is kind of put anybody down and like put a downer on the scene, but I don't think the UK has any stars remaining. Like, you look at the Checkpoint event where Lunacy returned, they sold that out in like less than 24 hours, if I remember rightly. And like, people just, if we would, even if it was just say once a year, if we were to get big names like that back, I think there's a chance that we could get it back to the way that it was in like 2012 or whatever. But now, like, people, the scene in the UK is just it's a bit of a shit show in general. Like, they'll no-show battles all the time and still get booked months later, and there's nothing to really aim for in the UK scene anymore, I don't think.
Hulk made a very good months ago. This is probably if many other people might have picked up on this still, or might have gave it much consideration, but he said that the best thing that can happen in UK battling now, which he it would be unlikely that they do it, but as if they just went back to one channel, and it was the UK battle rap channel, and all leagues put their footage up at the same place.
100%. He's definitely right.
I think he has a really solid point there, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
It won't ever happen, no. No, I don't think there's a chance it'll ever happen, but he is right. And like, for me, the most worrying point, which everybody was starting to get excited about the scene around the time Don't Flop kind of collapsed, and you had Code Red and Chalked Out and Premier Battles, and dub scandal started around that kind of time as well. Like, people were saying the scene was healthy, but if anything, I think that's exactly what's taken away from the scene, is the amount of content that's just being spread out across multiple new platforms. It really, like, when you look at Soul versus Tony D, for example, like that battle ended up being on, that was Chalked Out, that one, I think, not Code Red, but it's got, I don't know, maybe like 50,000 views or something last time I checked. 2000, if that was released, you know, 2012 or 2013, somewhere around that kind of time, that would have hit probably 6 times those numbers. You know, it's just,
yeah, it'd be well into the hundreds of thousands. And I don't think we can really criticize people for like the setting up of the leagues, because they're all doing it for the right reasons, and it is like they're trying to do something positive, but maybe it's just become too splintered.
No, 100%. And again, I completely agree. Like, Chalked Out put on, well, all of them in fact put on some great events, but it was just, it was bizarre in a sense that all the guys from Chalked Out and the guys from Code Red were all good friends. Why not all come together and create one platform, you know? And like, the same with Premier Battles. Like, Danny Jack started Code Red and was then also involved with Premier Battles, and same with Briggsy, like vice versa. It just didn't really make any sense. Like, I can't fault any of them, because they've all given us great content, but if they wanted to make a business out of it, there was just much better ways of going about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe it would have been good if they had it consolidated, because the thing is, I think, especially a few years ago, there was enough room in the UK scene that you could have a couple of other leagues, but there was one focal point in Don't Flop, and like, Lab Battles came along, put on some events, got some big names. There was like events in Liverpool. There were like the Art of Freestyle events. Used to have some written battles. You had like Rap and Fire. All these smaller leagues, but there was always the one focal point of Don't Flop was consistently always there, putting on the big events and having the big names. Whereas then everything kind of spread out into a few leagues that were the bigger leagues, and I don't think there's enough room for all the bigger leagues. I think if they had one big league as a focal point, and then all these other small regional leagues that are putting on events, they're kind of having the new talent coming up, so people are kind of dipping their toe in those leagues and moving on. Like I thought it was good when it was like Don Flop, and then it was like King of the Ronalds was the second biggest kind of consistent league that was always going, and they tended to have some more kind of people you wouldn't see on Don Flop, but also newcomers who they were, molding, and some of them went on to battle in Don Flop then. I thought that was cool. It'd be good to get back to a point like that where there's one big league.
Definitely. And the thing with that was as well is like King of the Ronalds and Don't Flop weren't doing the same thing. Like King of the Ronalds was a very left field league. Like they do just bizarre. They make bizarre decisions, but it would be funny. Like, but with the scene of late, like Premier Battles had a different concept, which was it was quite refreshing to see. But like,
yeah,
Chalked Out, King and like Code Red, all those leagues were all just. It was just the same events. You'd turn up, the event would be in London, you'd watch 6 battles and you'd go home, kind of thing. And it just didn't make any sense at the time. Like they should, yeah. I agree with Hulk 100%.
I think it was definitely refreshing. And like the fourth season of and I enjoyed the second season as well. Like, just obviously things happen towards the end where, like the Apex event, that fucked some things up for them. So I don't know where they're going for now, but of all the leagues that have kind of sprung up, I think they've probably had the best run in their first kind of year and a half to 2 years up to that event. Like, so it's a shame. Like, it's a shame what happened for them, in all the fun shows for that, and the money that cost them, and the money that they lost, after putting everything into it. And I'm sure that at that point they probably knew they weren't gonna probably do it forever, or for a long, long time, because it must have just been extremely disheartening. It was shit. What happened to them? And it surprises me that some of the dudes who did that are immediately just getting booked onto their leagues. It's like the American leagues don't give a shit that these people have conducted themselves so poorly and represented US battle rap so poorly on an international level.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. Like, I don't know if you saw, but recently, I think a few weeks ago now, it wasn't long ago at all, but URL and RBE did an event on the same day in Atlanta.
Right.
And they booked, so RBE originally booked JC to battle Oops.
Right.
And then I think it got confirmed about a week later that JC was then booked on the URL card as well. I can't remember who he battled now, but he then pulled out of the RBE event like 2 weeks or a week or so before, pulled out of the Oops battle, but still went ahead and did the URL battle. And it's just, you've got to, and people have got to stop letting him get away with things like that. And it is mainly him. I mean, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Briggsy was talking about it not too long ago, where he was saying JC like did the same thing to the South African league that Jinai Grimes was running. And like the South African league don't have that kind of money to be throwing away, but they they booked JC in order to get something back from it, and he just ignored all their messages and no-showed the event. And we've got to stop allowing these people to be booked, I think.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory. I some of these shit with his battlers and fantasy books events cause people to get people booked. Like as much as I'm a fan of the content that URL put out, I think sometimes they've kind of screwed people over. And I think with the Premier Battles event, like, it was all people from their league that pulled out. And there was talk of a Smack event that was coming up that they wanted to be booked for or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe it is down to some fucking politicking or whatever, you know. I'd hate to think that that's where it is, but it certainly looks that way to me at times.
Definitely. And I mean, there's been rumours about, I don't know if it was the first or the second event, but the Town Business King of the Dot pay-per-view got hacked into, and
yeah,
a lot of fingers were pointed at URL for that. And you know, it's not nice to think that it is them, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past them, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many kind of incidents that have brought that the finger has been pointed at Smack that you have to think, well, it must be doing something and cause this shit to keep happening. I heard about that thing with the pay-per-view as well. I'd actually forgotten that. But yeah, I definitely think that. And even they've taken names that other leagues use for their events and shit as well, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bad look. And it's bad for the culture overall. Which they should give a shit about, because they're part of it, and it's making them money. And you know, I don't like to see that kind of behaviour, fucking people over. Like.
No, I completely agree, and it just. I think if it was to happen over here in the UK, especially if a UK battler behaved like that, I think they'd see the consequences from it. But with the URL, I mean, they've got a fan base that they have no interest in battle rap as a whole. They're just URL fans specifically. So I think they're always going to get away with it, unfortunately. But the best option is to just stop booking them. I think we need to, especially for leagues this side of the pond, like there's an easy way to tell which battlers are going to turn up to your events when, you know, you see that they're battling on other leagues in the States as well. Because like Geechee Gotti is battling, I know he probably wouldn't get in over here, but he's battling all over the States on all different leagues, and like Rum Nitty's battling on iBattle and things like that. Like, these are obviously the people that you can trust enough to book. But when it comes to especially JC and Twerk, they're kind of just well known for taking deposits and not turning up now. It's just too risky to put your money into it, I guess.
Definitely. Have done the job, you know what I mean? Conducted themselves professionally, that you can book. Like, you know, if you book Source or Ilmac, I got to turn up and do a job. So many people have been booked internationally and shown up and shown the respect to actually fucking turn up and turn up well, you know? All the fucking international staff fucking battled in the UK. Salone, Arsenal, fucking Charlie Phillips was booked multiple times. I always think that if you do see a battler get booked multiple times by a league internationally like that, especially when it's someone who you know is getting paid well to do it, and you see them turn up again and again and having good battles in those leagues,
that's a good indication if you should be booking, if you're thinking of booking an international, you know, because they're the dudes with a proven track record of turning up and actually fucking showing their respect.
Definitely.
Yeah, those would be the type of names you want to be booking. And I think a lot of the URL names who like JC, Twerk, these kind of guys, if they're getting a name for doing it, then just stop booking them. Rock as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I really hope that I know that they signed contracts.
For the three of those dudes, there are three people I'll always watch, because I do enjoy their battles. They're talented, but yeah, it's
Do you
just
know
bullshit.
what? I was actually talking about this with Crash earlier today. Like, for me, I'm a bit funny with URL. Like, there's certain battlers that I really like and that I'll watch any battle that gets released. But if there's a battle that doesn't involve someone that I'm a big fan of, I won't watch it. And in my opinion, Tay-Rock is one of the most overrated battlers.
Yeah,
A lot of people say he's top 5 or even top 1 or whatever. Like, he doesn't even come close to my top 10 for me.
Definitely really top 10 for me. I think he's hit and miss. I think when he's good, he's really fucking good. But he is very hit and miss.
Yeah, I completely agree.
There's a lot of people who rate on URL, and I just don't watch them at all. I'll always watch Hollow if he's on URL. I like Hitman. I know some of the shit he says is ridiculous, doesn't make sense. But performance-wise, I like to watch him. I've always liked watching K-Train.
Yeah, I'm with you on all three of those.
From the first time he battled on URL, because like I'd seen Dot Mob, like I've watched T-Rex, and I don't rate T-Rex man highly. Like he's had a few good moments, but I don't think he's deserving of the matchups he's gotten over the years.
See, I got slated for saying that exact thing. Like I just don't enjoy watching his battles. I find them boring.
Yeah, I don't find it believable. I think he comes off like a really weird human being. So yeah, I've never been into it. But I remember when I first saw Keisha in battle, then I was like, do you know what? This dude is better than all these fucking Dot Mob idiots. Like he's so good. And just the theatrics of it, you know what I mean? The fucking I got to shoot him down the Drake walk, and the fucking this hold so big I'll step through him and all that shit. I enjoy it. It's a spectacle, you know.
Yeah.
And he puts a show on, and that's one of the things that I like about Hitman as well. Like, is although he does like outlandish shit, it gets such a big reaction. It's so entertaining, you know. Like falling backwards and all, do you know what I mean? And fucking the brother has to hold him up, all that kind of shit. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, I'm not really into like Calico, or I'm not a fan of Arsenal, those kind of dudes.
I'm a big Calico fan. Arsenal, I was never that big of a fan of.
No, like Calico's had some great battles. Don't get me wrong, he has. Like the fucking packing the back of the act, all that shit. Like it is square. Like, but I thought overall as a battler, I was never too drawn to him.
No, that's fair enough. But with Arsenal, for me, I was never a fan of Arsenal at all until I saw him live.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd imagine it's very impressive, that energy level in the room. It is. His performance is so good. He just doesn't have bars.
No, I mean, I was quite lucky in a sense that I saw him versus Shotty live.
Yeah.
Which for me is hands down his best battle ever that I can think of anyway. But
without
I saw him battle Soul as well, the King of the Dot World Dom event in London a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
that battle was a bit of a letdown, if I'm honest. From both, it was just a strange matchup, really. But it was like seeing him live completely changed my opinion of him, and like since then, he is hit and miss Arsenal, but like the Geechee battle fairly recently was unbelievable. Have you seen that one?
I'll watch that.
It's worth watching. To be honest, any battle with Geechee in the last couple of years is worth watching because he just brings the best out of anyone that he battles.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. He brings out good performances. I think like that's a compliment to someone. You know, if like Soros said it, like about a few times about the last few battles he's done. Like he battled Frack. I battled him. He battled your man Rainey or Rani. He battled Marv. Just that people always seem to have their best performance against him, you know. And I remember after the battle, like him saying to me, you know, you were fire, like, and I was like, man, thanks. Like, I was honored that you were as good as you were, like that you had shit like direct for me, like, do you know what I mean? And I was like, I'm so grateful for that, like. And he was like, look, I know like that you're gonna have your best performance for me, like, so I have to do that, like, you know. And that's the thing, people that because they know his status and how he's viewed and he's legendary in this shit, they know they have to be that good. So like if someone like Geechee is getting like people's best every time, it's because they feel they have to be that good to have a chance. Like, so yeah, that's a huge compliment to someone, you know, and if they're always getting that.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Well, we've been going now for just short of 3 hours.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours and 42 minutes at the moment. So I don't want to take too much more of your evening up, man. There's a couple of like quick fire questions that are kind of not really battle related that I'm trying to just end the podcast with. But for yourself, like if you could pick one destination in the world for a holiday, where would you go?
Oh shit, that's this is a long place with ice flow. Ooh, this is difficult. Right, and this isn't just one specific destination, but I've always wanted to like travel across America, like you know, like do the Route 66 thing,
Yeah.
and just see so much of it. So I'll probably go with that because there's places I'd love to go. I'd love to see the pyramids. I'd love to go to Peru, like see Machu Picchu, Great Wall of China. I'm big into history, and when I go anywhere, I like to go and check out all the museums, all the big historical sites. Like me and my girlfriend went to Amsterdam like 2 years in a row, like 2 years ago. And we literally went to every museum, tourist attraction, every bit of history that we could take in. And we did the same in Edinburgh there recently as well, which is fucking incredible. So, but yeah, I'd love to see America, all of it. I've only ever been to New York. So yeah, I'd love to travel across and do the Route 66 thing. Like.
Nice. Yeah, with Amsterdam, man, like it's pretty criminal, really, how many people go there and don't bother going to like the Rijksmuseum or the Van Gogh Museum, and they're so good. Like it's not expensive, and you know it. I just don't understand how people can miss it. To be honest with you.
Amsterdam is my favorite, and I've been there 3 times now, over the years, and every time I've always tried to see as much of it as I can because it's full of just so much history, and so much happened there, and there's so much art and just so much you can see, and obviously, look, when we go to I have what I call holiday mode Nugget, right? And the lads always talk about it. Like, when I go to anywhere, I will literally drink or smoke from first thing in the morning for the entire day. It's just what I've always done. And Amsterdam, like, I will literally just be lit the entire time. But it will never stop me from seeing all the museums and I'll just walk around in a happy daze, just enjoying it and taking it in. And yeah, it's incredible. There's so much, because people think of Amsterdam and they just think of the red light and the coffee shops.
Yeah.
I think that's all it is, which they're missing so much if they don't go and check everything out. Like, I love going to the Van Gogh Museum, man, and just walking around, like, just taking it in. It's unbelievable. Edinburgh is incredible, as well as a city, just to walk around and take in so much history, like all the underground tours. You can go under the city into the old streets that got built over. You can go, like, me and my missus went on this like ghost tour in Edinburgh, and it was pretty cool. And they bring you around graveyards and shit, and they show you like this tomb of this dude who, there's like an urban legend that if you go up and you knock on his tomb and you say this fucking rhyme, he'll fucking haunt you or do something. Anyway, so while we were in that graveyard, it was like midnight. Your man told us that building across there was the inspiration for Hogwarts. And Tom Riddle, Voldemort, his grave is in this graveyard. He goes, I don't do Harry Potter tours, but just in case you wanted to come back. So the next night, me and my missus were like out drinking, and it got pretty late, and she just turned around and said, I want to go to Voldemort's grave. So I was like, right, fuck it, we'll go. So yeah, went up and had a can and a joint on Voldemort's grave at like 1 o'clock in the morning. We Google mapped it and found it. It was just pretty
Nice.
a bit disrespectful to whoever Tom Riddle actually was, because there's a real in that. But look, at least his name will never be forgotten. But yeah, there was actually we bumped into other random people who are looking for the grave as well. So it's obviously a popular thing people do, and they have a few drinks. And on the way out, I knocked on that dude's tomb and I did the rhyme, which I'd never do sober, but I was feeling a bit brave. But yeah, there's some pretty cool history out there when you're on your holidays.
Yeah, I need to go to both Edinburgh, and I need to come to Ireland as well, man. Like, I've still never been, and yeah, I pretty much agree with you as well. North America's the only continent that I've not been to so far, so America's definitely next on my list. I'm really hoping to get out there for town business at the end of the year if it happens. So fingers crossed, I'll go over for that. But
I think New York, I think everyone at some point in their life should spend a day alone in New York and just walk around. It's exactly what you imagine it would be.
Yeah.
Like, it is. I first went when I was like 18, and I went with me and me sisters actually went, and they were going on a shopping trip, and I just kind of piggybacked it. And I went just to go to record shops and shit, like go to Fat Beats and buy a lot of vinyl and mixtapes and shit. And I pretty much spent the whole time while they were off shopping, walking around the city on my own. And it's just such a cool place. I went back again like a year later and just went to all the same spots and just walked around it. It's so cool. There's so much happening, like.
Yeah, I can imagine. I really want to go as well, and I nearly booked it for my girlfriend's 21st birthday a couple of years ago. And then she let me know that she's actually not interested in going there at all. So we ended up going to Amsterdam for like the 4th time in about 2 years. But yeah, it's definitely on the cards at some point.
Oh, you sure?
But where's your favorite place that you've been so far in terms of like a holiday or a trip?
Amsterdam, definitely.
Yeah.
I love it. I like it when I was in Amsterdam. What I did every morning I grew up, get a few pre-rolls going, and just go on a walk and just walk around on my own. My girlfriend would still be asleep. And I'd walk around the city like, and just into kind of less, kind of further out of the city, kind of just walking through residential areas and shit, and just find somewhere to buy like a bit of food for breakfast, come back then and like just kind of have a bit of breakfast and wake her up and fucking just walk around and explore the city. Like I found a lot of time in Amsterdam, I wasn't even staying out drinking particularly late because I'd spent so much of the day just seeing as much as I could,
Yeah. No, I agree. It's so far it's probably my favourite place. I've been to New Zealand as well, which I'd have to come pretty close. But
Say that's
if I had to pick a place to live, it'd be Amsterdam. I know that. I tried to live there a couple of years ago, and it just crippled me. I lasted about 6 weeks.
I'd love to do it. Like, people like buy holiday homes and shit like abroad, and like my dad has a place in Spain, and he spends a lot of time over there. Like I went over there a while back. It's pretty cool. But if I ever was buying a holiday home outside of Ireland, I'd definitely try and get something in Amsterdam. Like if I ever had that kind of money.
The dream for me is a houseboat over there. I think it would be amazing.
I stayed on a houseboat in Amsterdam. It's pretty nice. It was cool. I had a little deck, and I used to just sit out on the deck and have a smoke. It was proper cool. The only thing when you wake up in the morning and you look out the window, it looks like, because you're looking at you're looking up, you're seeing the roofs of the buildings. They all look like they're moving because the boat is swaying. Like, it's just kind of upsetting. But they're mad expensive, the houseboats to stay in. Like.
Yeah, I did notice. I went back with a few like work friends last summer, and it was a bit of a random trip. Like that's a story for another day. But one of the lads had never been abroad before, and we took him to Amsterdam for 4 days, and then went down to Brussels for 4 days, and he pretty much spent the full week just in silence, just didn't have a clue what to say because he just never seen anything like it, and that's what I love about it there.
That must be an experience. I met someone recently, I think it was like my girlfriend's brother's girlfriend, and they're like both like 16, and she's never been outside of Ireland, and it was it seems bizarre to me that you've never even been to England, like.
The guy we took away with us, he basically he spent his whole life in Cardiff. He started working with us. He's a bit younger than me. He's about 3-4 years younger than me. And at the age of like 21, he turned around to us. I was actually talking about going to. It was the Chalked Out and King of the Dot Empire event. And I mentioned that I was getting a megabus from Cardiff to London. And he was like, "What? You can do that?" And we were like, well, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "I thought you had to fly to London. It's a different country."
What?
And we were like, "No, man. Like it's literally like 3 hours away." And 2 weeks later, he booked himself a weekend in London.
Has he got the internet? How is this fella? How is he functioning?
I know. And not long after we took him away, he went out, tried a pint of Guinness, decided that he liked it, and then booked a weekend in Ireland on his own. And I respect him for it, but he's a special boy. Like,
right, that is fucking madness.
It's crazy.
I have a mate who would kind of be like that some ways. But yeah, no, you meet these people. There's people out there that just lived a very, very sheltered existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's bizarre. I often wonder like how they got by to this point. Not like how can someone live in the UK and not know how you get to London?
I know.
Like
The worst thing is, as well, is his parents are Italian, and he just never even been to where his parents were from or anything.
like did he think that there was a sea in between Wales and England?
I had no idea. I think it was more that he was under the impression that you needed a passport, and he never had a passport. But yeah, it was very bizarre.
That is mental. I've never been to Cardiff. Is it a place that you'd want to spend your whole life never seeing anywhere else?
No, absolutely not.
Wow.
I don't mind Cardiff. I'm not from here originally. Like I'm not actually Welsh either. I'm from a little city called Hereford, which is just over the border.
I've heard.
Yeah, it's a small city. There's not a lot there, and Cardiff's only about an hour and a half up the road. So I met my girlfriend who's from here and decided to move here and have been here ever since. And there's enough going on here. It's not a bad place, but it's certainly not somewhere I'd want to spend the rest of my life, kind of thing.
Yeah. To be honest, like I'd love to see more of the UK, because I haven't seen a huge amount. Like I've been to London a few times for like down flops, and I went for I used to work for Sky. I used to do the retention for Sky, talking people out leaving. And I won this
I've done the same job.
What's it?
I've done the same job.
Are you serious? You're on Sky retention as well?
Well, I worked for a company called First Source, who they outsourced it to.
Yeah, so you know the drill. But basically they ran this tournament between all the teams, and I was on a team and I was performing really badly. I wasn't doing well in the job at that point, and I kind of kept them in second place rather than first. And 2 weeks before the tournament ended, I got offered the chance to transfer to another team, and I transferred to the team that was winning. And what I did then was I started to do all right at certain stuff, so they just left me on that and kind of kept their stats up by doing that. And I lost it for the other team, so they let me go on the trip with the team that won that I just got put on. So we all went to London and we went to Sky Studios and we watched a United Crystal Palace match live in studio with Redknapp, Henry, and it was really fucking cool.
That's sick.
I've been to Brighton, I've been to Birmingham. I have family around Birmingham, Redditch, so I've been there. I've been to Manchester and I've been to Newcastle and Liverpool. But the last time I went to the UK was for Chalked Out to do a comedy battle. And,
I remember seeing that. Yeah, that was in Liverpool, right?
That was Liverpool, yeah, in that comedy club. So I flew into Leeds because it was the only place that we could get a flight for that weekend, was Leeds. So Kofi and Conman met us, and Kofi's missus met us at the airport, me and my missus, and he drove from Leeds to Liverpool. And just driving across kind of Yorkshire and down kind of towards Liverpool, then getting to see a lot of kind of the British countryside, which I'd never seen. And it's like you drive on these little small roads for like miles and miles, and there's just hills. And then you hit these little villages that all look like Emmerdale. There's just one pub, 20 houses and a shop. And then there's nothing for like 30 miles. And then there's an identical village again. and just these random landmarks and shit. I'd like to see more of the UK, like outside of that. And then after the event, we drove from Liverpool to Stockton-on-Tees, which is like Newcastle, which was like
Yeah.
about 2.5 hours. So I saw loads more of England, like, and just the smaller cities kind of fascinate me a bit, like, because they have like football clubs and stadiums and shit, and they play in like these other leagues and all, like, and they have like, they might get a few thousand fans to every game, and it's just, I don't know, it's just weirdly fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. And like, what I'd recommend, if you were to come back here just as a trip kind of thing, I'd say base yourself out of Bristol. Bristol's a cool city, in my opinion. It's probably, yeah, it's probably my favourite city in the UK. And
I've watched a few series of Skins as well.
yeah, okay.
So I've seen a little bit of their culture. But yeah, no, it looks like a cool place to go, Bristol. A few people that I've known who've gone over there for different shit over the years, like, there's a lot of kind of, I think of Bristol when I think of kind of Brighton, because I often hear of like just different scenes, like, like music
Definitely,
scenes.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
there's a big hip hop scene in Bristol as well, which is like it's cool. And if you ever get, if you get an offer to battle at, say, a Don't Flop event or whatever in Bristol, take it, man, because like I think in the last 2 years I've been to 3 events in Bristol. I was actually at the Don't Flop event there about a month ago now, and it's Bristol events in Bristol are different to the rest of the UK in the sense that I went there a month ago and didn't recognise anybody from other events apart from the battlers. But
yeah,
they're all there and they're all ready to react to all types of material. Like, they were all going crazy for Zayn Azrai, and then a couple of rounds later they're all going mad for Press One, doing an on beat battle, and then they're all going crazy at Yunnan Crafty, and like it's a really good place for battle rap. I think it's probably my favourite place to go to events in the UK, to be honest.
I'll have to check. Never been Bristol.
I'm sure Don't Flop will be doing plenty of events there because they always seem to sell out the venues whenever they go. But the good thing about Bristol as well is you've got so many nice like little towns nearby. Like my parents live not far away from there, so like you've got Bath nearby. Bath's amazing, and then like there's a little town called Bathampton just up the road, which is like a really picturesque little like village type thing, and there's just loads to do in that like general area.
Yeah. No, I'll have to check it out. I would like to see more of the UK. I should book a bunch of battles and tour the UK as a battle.
Yeah, definitely.
A stick and a bun back, just walking along, no shoes.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to exploring Ireland as well. My girlfriend's got like Irish heritage, and her surname's Hurley, so she gets asked all the time if she is Irish. But
well, that's one of the surnames that's specifically just Irish. Like,
yeah,
has she been over much?
She's been over briefly. Her parents have actually only ever been abroad like once or twice to go to Spain, like before she was born. But she went with like family friends to, I want to say Donegal or something like that in the south. She doesn't remember a lot about it. It was like the Ring of Kerry kind of area, I think she said.
Yeah, that would be the opposite. Like, the one I was thinking there, Donegal, would be more north, but the Ring of Kerry is lovely.
Yeah, she said something about spending a lot of time looking at dolphins. If that
Yeah, that's Dingle.
Dingle, that was it, not the Ring of Kerry. I've got that completely wrong.
But that's near to it. That's close by, like that's down that direction. There's a dolphin called Fungi. He's an ugly bat.
Yeah, that's exactly what she talked about.
You go out in a boat and see him, like.
Right.
Yeah, he's kind of like their biggest tourist attraction since like the 80s, I think. It's probably not
Okay.
dolphin anymore. But yeah, no, he's massively popular with the tourists.
Right. But yeah, Ireland as a whole just looks beautiful. Like I really do need to get over at some point, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper to make it over there as well. So it'll definitely happen soon.
Make that cheap these days. But yeah, no, down that direction, like Dingle, all around kind of the southwest, Killarney, fucking, West Cork, like Skibbereen, Baltimore, like really, really scenic places, like really beautiful. Like, and when the only thing, like, if you get the weather in Ireland, like if you get a nice kind of week to come over, it's fantastic. Like, and there's so much to do. Dublin's a great city as well. Like, I love Dublin. There's so much to do and there's a lot to see. Like, people that live here kind of, like anywhere, people that live here don't go and see these things enough. Like, but there's fucking loads to do.
Yeah, I've never heard anything bad about Dublin at all. Like, everyone I know that's been loves it, and
it's expensive. That's the only thing.
Yeah, your rent prices over there are fucking mental as well.
Mad, absolutely mad. And the thing is, it's come back to being really bad. Like, I remember there was the kind of global recession, and I remember when I started, I used to do a lot of rap workshops, like, for work when I was out of work. And when I started working full time again around 2014, Dublin prices would have been still relatively high, but I found a place in Drogheda. I was working in Drogheda at the time, and my girlfriend was working in Drogheda, and we said, "Fuck it, like, drive where I live in Dublin, which isn't that bad. And to get to the north side of Dublin, it's actually only about half an hour, 40 minutes, from Drogheda. It's a big enough town." So we looked for a place to rent up there, and we found a 3-bedroom bungalow, it right just smack bang beside the centre of the town, close to everything. Really had, like, less than 5 minutes to walk for me, and it was €600 a month to rent the house. Whereas, like, in Dublin at the time, it would have been at least twice that, if not more. And now I think it's about 2 to 3 times to rent that particular property outside of Dublin than it was back then. Because I know about 3-4 years ago it was 1,200. We seen it online, and now it's more. I'm back. I live in the house I grew up in now, back in Dublin. Like, but yeah, rent is it's a killer, man. It really is. Like, people are paying like over $2,000 a month, like, to live in, just a house, like, close enough to the city.
It's mad.
Might get something for like 1,600. Like, I'm about a 15-minute drive from the city centre in, like, a suburb kind of. But like, to rent a house around here, you probably pay about 1,500-1,600 euro a month.
It's fucking crazy. Like, that's like Amsterdam kind of prices. Like, I paid about 1,300 a month for a bed sit, essentially, like a bedroom, kitchen, living room in one, and then a bathroom.
Yeah, well, when I 2003 got the job with Sports, and we moved back up, and we were both working in Dublin, and at the time we were looking at getting an apartment, and it was a 1-bedroom apartment with sports, an okay sized living room,
one bedroom and a bathroom. And it was smoking out of house rent back the person
That's crazy.
so at that point, I ended up actually moving back to where I was before. But yeah, it's ridiculously expensive. Like I feel bad like for people trying to get a foot on the property ladder, you know.
Yeah, it's not right, is it?
That's a big part of why there's such a big homelessness problem in Ireland, because you have a lot of people at the bottom end that actually can't afford to rent, have families, you know, might be in a relationship or married with a kid and can't afford to rent on a house, can't get a council house because the wait is too long. So they end up having to live in emergency accommodation, like a hotel room, in the inner city or wherever, like the whole family in one room. And there's a lot of that, like outside of kind of the general homelessness of people who ended up living on the streets. There's a whole business based on emergency accommodation, and there's a lot of hotel owners that are making huge profits on it. And the thing is, there's also a problem here where when someone comes to Ireland seeking asylum, they get put into a program called direct provision. And direct provision is where they'll basically rent out like generally older hotels, and the people will be forced to live in these. They won't be allowed to work. They'll literally live there for years. The conditions aren't particularly good in them from what I've seen and heard. But you'll always see the kind of racist trolls on the likes of Facebook who try and blame Ireland's homeless problem on foreign people, and they'll talk about the direct provisions. And there's a lot of protests against the direct provision centres, and most of the protests are actually because they disagree with the conditions. But the whole kind of right wing will kind of try and take that and say this is because they don't want these people here, and we don't, like that's they'll try and hijack that course for themselves. And stupid, easily led people will jump onto this idea of where they housing these people when we have homeless here. But what they're failing to realise is the majority of the homeless people here aren't living on the streets. They're living in emergency accommodation, making a profit, or the people who own these hotels. The people who are living in direct provision are actually also suffering and are making profit for the people who own these hotels, because the government's paying all these people to house these people. And people are failing to realise that it's actually government policies and greed of people who own these places that they should be angry at, and not turning the two groups against each other, because they're both suffering while the same people profit from it. But yeah, that's generally my feeling about the housing situation.
Yeah, I do notice like Rory's constantly like retweeting stuff about it and disagreeing with a lot of comments and stuff. It's kind of similar to the situation in London in that sense, I guess, where, you know, like when you look at some cities in the UK and they're starting to get, you know, they're starting to find decent solutions to combat homelessness. Like I saw in Manchester last summer, they'd started opening temporarily abandoned buildings for the homeless to sleep in, and then once the buildings were, you know, either sold or put out to let for another office building, they'd move them into a different one. And it's just small things like that can go such a long way and save a lot of money at the same time. But
yeah, it's a good idea. There was actually a movement to do that here. And there's a basically a lot of buildings became property of kind of a group which is called NAMA. And NAMA is like it's a group set up here by the government, the financial group, which takes the assets of companies that went under during the recession and whatnot, and they own a lot.
Okay.
It was generally big name property people lost a lot of these properties. So there was one called Apollo House, which is in the centre of Dublin. It was sitting idle for years. And basically, a bunch of people decided to go in, break into it, and they brought a bunch of homeless people in. But a lot of celebrities got behind it, like Hosier got behind it, and like businesses got behind it. So there's a fella here, he's kind of an eccentric fella who owns a shop that sells mattresses, and his name is Mattress Nick. And he's a bit of a celebrity. Look him up online. He has some rap ads where he raps. He's a man, I'd say, in his 60s. He has long grey hair. He dresses kind of colourfully. And he's just mad. But he owns these shops, these mattress mix shop. And apparently he does great deals on a mattress. He's a real comedian. But his
Okay.
are all really badly photoshopped. And it's him badly photoshopped onto like a big red background and all. It's hilarious. But he donated all the beds and told them, like, when they got all the beds, he said, you can literally take as many as you want. I want to give as many as possible. Like, and yeah, that got closed down eventually by the authorities. They were allowed to stay for Christmas. Um,
No, that's awesome though. It's it's people like that are gonna find maybe not a solution, but at least he's finding a temporary solution. It's
yeah,
a lot of it just comes down to greed, unfortunately, doesn't it?
well, it does. It does. That's capitalism for you. But
Mm.
like I noticed from like some of my relatives in certain parts of the UK and like the West Midlands and stuff that most of me cousins, once they got to a certain age, they got like a council flat and they lived there for 6 years and they paid rent and then they, saved for a mortgage or whatever. And that used to be something that would have happened more here a long time ago. And there's more privately owned properties now than there was then. Like the house that I live in, would have been my family home. Like my mother's family would have originally moved in like I think the very early 60s.
Okay.
Um, and houses then, like my grandfather would have originally owned this house. I think the houses then, from what I've heard from people whose grandparents also owned them, these houses probably cost something like £8,000 to £9,000, and you paid them off. You had a little rent book thing that you paid off every month off your house to the council. Like a lot of people would continue to rent them, but some people chose to buy at some point. They had like this option where you could buy your council house, and people did it. Like the house that I'm in now, if you were to buy it now, would probably cost like I don't know, like 300 grand or something. It's a three-bedroom council house. It doesn't look any different to a three-bedroom council house in the UK, but the price of property is just ridiculous. And if you went
Yeah.
city with this same house, it would just climb more and more in cost to where you could be paying like 450,000 to live in a basic house just because of where it is and the property value on the land is so expensive. And like Dublin has really been there's such a property bubble and it's just going to lead to another it's going to burst again and it's going to cause the Irish economy to suffer all over again. um I don't know what the solution is. There's been talk of like putting a rent cap on, which I know only ever works as a temporary solution for these things, but that'll never happen because I think something like 1 in 5 Irish TDs, which would be like our equivalent of MPs, are known to be landlords. And those are
Right.
that I read that in an article a few years back, and that number was only accurate up to the end of a certain tax year because they would have had to declare that. But they have so much personal interest in it.
as well, you know.
Yeah, and I just can't understand how anyone could afford to buy a house at those prices. Like we're at the moment, we've moved in with my girlfriend's parents temporarily while we save up to buy a house of our own, and like we couldn't really afford to save enough money while we were renting a house in Cardiff, which was probably all bills in costing us probably about £1,000 a month between two of us. Whereas, like we've moved in to save money here to buy a house up in the valleys, which is going to probably cost about 100 grand, like £100,000. Whereas
Yeah,
trying to save up even a 10% deposit on a house that's going to cost upwards of 300 grand, it's mental.
it takes years. Um, it's like even remember, say like 20 years ago when my oldest sister would have moved out, and a lot of my friends, all the brothers and sisters were moving out and were buying houses. They were buying them for like 80, 90 grand. And now they're like at least three times that cost for the same houses.
Mm.
It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Like, um, I'd imagine that the Valleys is a very, very picturesque place to live, is it?
Parts of it, yeah. Yeah, some of it's really nice. Some of it's quite rough and quite run down, but I mean, like the thing for me is we could buy a 3-bed house in, say, Pontypridd, for example, and save probably about 200 grand on what it would cost in Cardiff. And there's 5 trains an hour. It takes about 20 minutes to get to Cardiff on the train. It just makes more sense, really. But
yeah,
Pontypridd is all right. There's a uni there, so it's gradually getting built up more and more, and it's probably the best area of the valleys to be. I don't have a huge knowledge of the valleys in general, but there's places where you can buy like a 3-bed house for like, I don't know, about 60,000 probably, but it's because you need a car to get to and from anywhere and things like that. But yeah, it's probably the cheapest place in the UK to buy a house right now, I imagine.
I moved like nearly 10 years, um, and it was like an hour outside of Dublin. It was like a little stone house, little 2-bedroom house. It was lovely. And the guy getting rid of it had to get rid of that and an adjoining house. It was out in the countryside, just because he had a lot of financial issues. And reckon I could have probably bought the house for like as cheap as like 30 grand or slightly under. And I never did in the end. Probably best I didn't. It was a bit far out. During the recession, like house prices dropped here dramatically, like, especially outside Dublin. So yeah, like I don't know, that can happen again. And if I keep working, maybe I can take advantage of that situation and buy a house, even if it's to rent out, and try and get myself to eventually finding a house in Dublin. But yeah, the prospects aren't good, man.
No, it doesn't sound it.
Like I have my family home, and my dad stays there sometimes, well, not often. It's technically still where he lives. He's never here. He hasn't actually been here in probably a month or two. And now with the coronavirus thing, he's back here from Spain, but he's quarantining elsewhere, away from me because he travelled. So basically, he came out on the weekend that all the Irish people were trying to scarborough out of Spain because things got bad. Um, and he came back, but decided, best to isolate for at least 2 weeks. So he's under lockdown elsewhere. So I pretty much,
Right.
I nearly always have the place to myself, apart from like if my daughter or my missus are here with me,
Yeah.
which is good. I'm quite lucky in that way, and that have somewhere like. But there's a lot of people aren't in that situation, like the family homes aren't an option. So there's people living on fucking sofas and all, man. It's sad. It really is.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's fucking nuts. But yeah, Nugget, man, we've gone now for 3.5 hours, man.
Wow, that's the last
Yeah.
podcast. Pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, mate. And
Yeah, man.
hopefully, well, I mean, I've got something like 45 guests to come on in the next 2 weeks or so. I've got 3 or 4 guests every day for the next 2 weeks, if I remember rightly. So I'm hoping to keep this going long term, and definitely have to get you back on at another time, man. But have you got anything to kind of plug, like any projects that are coming or anything like that?
Well, at the moment, basically, I've been writing, which I've most of it written, but now I can't record it at the moment, with the lockdown situation. So once the lockdown's over, I'm gonna be getting back to that. But just at the moment, the oi battle tournament, if people fucking like oi battle TV, the forum on Facebook, you can follow all the battles. They put them on there once they're up, and if you have the iBattle app, it's free to watch them. You don't have to pay any subscription fee. You can just download the app and log in and watch them for free. So yeah, people do that and vote for me if they think I won or whatever. I'm also gonna put up. I've noticed a few people are doing kind of bar videos and stuff like that, and just trying to keep themselves busy and creative. So I'm gonna do a few of those. I did one before the Source Battle, which got a bit of traction online. So if people just follow Nugget on Facebook and follow your man Nugget on Twitter, I'll be putting them on there. Just to keep myself kind of writing and active and keep the name out there until the lockdown ends and I can fucking get this music. I'll put the EP on Spotify and hopefully get a big battle booked at that point.
Definitely, and I'll put all the links to the socials in the description and stuff like that as well. But yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on. You're the second guest ever as well, so it's been a day of learning curves, but this has gone really smoothly. So yeah, thanks again, man. It's been really good to talk to you.
Thanks a million. Take care, man.
You too, mate. Look after yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.